Mariners spring training on Root Sports is presented by Magic Toyota, right on Highway 99 in Edmonds.
We know what that is. You see it down in Arizona, the desert a lot. It's the sun. We saw it again today, and we're seeing it set there in Peoria as we bring you Mariners baseball. Giants and the Mariners from the Peoria Sports Complex right here on Root Sports. Getting closer and closer to opening day. It's Brad Adam, Bill Kruger here in studio. And Bill, kind of our timeline in spring, we usually kind of go, let's see, Groundhog Day, Valentine's Day, Mariners commercial release day. It's today.
It rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it?
And then opening day. And now, should we spoil it now and let them know that we are not in any commercials? Once again, despite petitioning the marketing department, once again,
I think it's a collective
cutting room floor.
Let them down slowly.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Here are the 5 commercials that you will see. Maybe Bill and I are in, if you look closely in the background, maybe. Here's what we got for you. The Big Maple, work-related injury, art of the frame, mound visit, flip. Again, we'll have all 5 of these during the game. Let's give you a little tease right now. Let's start with one that I like here at the bottom, flip. Now, you can kind of guess what it's about. Certainly you can when you know that it's Ben Gamel's in there, along with our good friend, Kyle Seager.
Kyle, you okay?
Yeah, I'm just working on my hair flip.
Not bad. More like this.
Okay, yeah, I'll keep working on it.
Mariners baseball, true to the blue.
Seager, he's got the straight man down.
Yeah, the deadpan humor is awesome.
And Ben, that did look luxurious. I like the flip. All right, we've got, again, all 5 coming up during the game, including one on the Big Maple. We know that's James Paxton. Speaking of the Big Maple, he is on the mound tonight. Look at that, our Lexus pitching matchup. A couple of lefties. Derek Collin, we know very well from the White Sox last year, Rangers before that. Tough year, Giants taking a gamble on him. 7-14 last year, Big Ernie. Paxton, 12-5, great numbers, but Bill's last 2 turns in spring, not very James Paxton-like. Any reason to be concerned?
It's just not a great place for a high fastball curveball pitcher to pitch down there in Arizona, and results are not what James Paxton's after, although everybody's competitive. The big thing for him is build his pitch count, locate his fastball, and get some good spin on his curveball, and we'll call it good. Just get him ready for the season and keep him healthy. But when this guy is healthy, we saw it last year in the month of April and July, he was the best pitcher in baseball, let alone in the American League. So if this guy's right and he's healthy and he can give this team 30 starts, that makes the Mariners a contender, and then it puts him in the running, the serious running for the Cy Young, in my opinion. He's that good.
And he was there last year until getting injured.
Yep.
At the 6 wins in July, Mariners team record. A guy that was in Peoria who saw one of those starts. His last start, Ryan Rowland-Smith. He's standing by in Peoria with Aaron Goldsmith. Guys talking about Paxton and also about a treat that we have for you in the booth tonight.
A warm and windy day here in Peoria, Arizona, and a chance tonight once again to watch James Paxton. Ryan, you watched his previous start against these Giants, for what it's worth, back-to-back starts against the same team here in spring training. What are you hoping to see here tonight from James?
I want to see James start to finish guys off, get the feel for that 2-strike pitch. It's taken a while for James to rack up those Ks. We started to see a glimpse of that his last start out. But once he starts getting a good feel for that fastball up in the zone and that good, nasty breaking ball, then you're going to start to see those strikeouts rack up.
And we're going to have 3 generations of Mariners up in the booth tonight. We're going to have you, of course, Mike Blowers, and Mr. Mariner, Alvin Davis, will be swinging by. This should be a fun time.
Yeah, we had a chance to do this last week, and a lot of stories, a lot of good stories, mind you, but just a chance to, the one thing I miss from playing is standing on the top step of the dugout and talking baseball. So we get a chance to do that for a couple innings tonight. It'll be fun.
Well, looking forward to it. First pitch not far from now.
All right, Aaron, Ryan, thank you very much. Look forward to that again, innings 2, 3, and 4. Giants lineup tonight against Paxton. You got Posey as DH. Longoria, remember they got him from Tampa Bay to play third base. Pablo Sandoval, he's back at first base now. Less moving at first base.
No, but just as big.
Mariners lineup, you had Ichi leading off. He had yesterday off. Segura, Haniger, Zanino, your catcher. Vogelback at first base. Heredia, Mater, Marjima, your DH, and Zach Vinci, your second baseman, no Cano or Cruz or Seager. But you do have Daniel Vogelback, and he has been the breakout star, at least hitting-wise, so far this spring for the Mariners. He has been raking, get some opportunities, and he's making the most of them, hitting over 400. We'll talk about this man, Daniel Vogelbach, at first base for your Mariners tonight. That's coming up as we get you set. Giants and Mariners on Root Sports.
From icons of the sport to today's top
Puyallup Nissan. Car buying as easy as Sunday morning. And by Safeco Insurance, find a local agent at safeco.com. Do more. No one's been doing more than this man at the plate in the spring. Daniel Vogelbach hitting .433, 5 doubles, 2 homers. He's walking. OPS over 1,300. Bill, taking advantage of a situation here, and really looks like an entirely different hitter, doesn't he?
More like the guy that Jerry DiPoto scouted and picked out of that Chicago Cubs system a couple years ago. This guy has a resume for hitting and hadn't done it in the big leagues, but boy, he's showing it here. Spraying the ball to all fields with authority, using the other side of the field much better. That's the kind of hitter that he is. He's not a dead pull hitter, and he's got good plate discipline, and boy, the bat's coming through the zone. I think he's more relaxed, and you're starting to see the results. And really, as you look at the situation right now, not that we like to look at the injury situation, but Ryan Healy still not for sure going to be ready to start the season. You got Nelson Cruz, the bad quad. So if Daniel Vogelbach's in a position, he's sitting in the catbird seat, swinging the bat well, has an inside shot or whatever you want to call it, an outside shot, to be in the big leagues this year.
First base maybe for Healy, or like you mentioned, Cruz out, maybe DH.
Yeah.
But again, that's a couple weeks away. We don't want to alarm anybody.
That's right.
We have no inside information. We're just kind of speculating, talking. But he is having a fantastic spring. So, again, he's in the lineup tonight at first base as we send you out to Peoria. James Paxton on the mound. You've got Aaron Goldsmith and Mike Blowers ready to call this one. Gentlemen, take it away.
Hey, Brad, let's just take the hand off the panic button, okay?
Exactly.
There's plenty of time. There's time. There's time.
15
Good talking
days.
to you, Bradley. Hey, this is a beautiful night for baseball. No surprise in the Cactus League as the Mariners and the San Francisco Giants get set for Cactus League game number 20. as James Paxton up on the mound, making his 4th start of the springtime.
Yeah, I think it's about time for James too. He's worked on some things mechanically throughout the spring. We haven't seen the big velocity for him, so I think overall you'd like to see him command the strike zone with his fastball tonight. He will mix in his off-speed pitches to go along with that, but so far in 5 2/3 he's given up 11 hits, or 13 hits, excuse me. That's a lot of hits for him, so I think you'd like to see him have some clean innings tonight.
And we had Paxton on for an in-game interview just the other night. And Mike, I'm looking forward to your analysis of his 10:30 glove position tonight.
10:30 glove position. It's one of the things I've talked to him about it too. Actually, I was with you when we were talking to him. But for James over the years, he's so mechanical about everything that he does. And even that, the glove position that you're talking about, it's something that he will notice even if it's off by a little bit. And it can throw him off. Once he locks it in, that's great news. Then he becomes one of the best pitchers in the American League.
Facing Stephen Duggar to lead things off. Trying to bunt his way aboard. Looks at strike 1. Duggar, a very young, promising player for the Giants. Now for Paxton, making his 2nd start against the Giants during the regular season, Mike, we might talk about that. Making multiple starts in a short span against the same team. I would think that in the springtime, not nearly as big of an issue.
Yeah, I don't think so. The lineups are certainly different, and especially for the club that is traveling, which the Giants are doing. You won't see some of their better players most of the time, so I really don't think it makes a difference. Earlier, we didn't see Posey or Longoria. Both of them in the lineup tonight.
1-2 now. Paxton ahead.
I think it's a different situation. I believe in the next couple of days they're going to play the Angels again, and I know that through Felix's career, managers have held him out against the Angels just because you're going to see him so many times in your own division. That's probably a different thing to think about, but with the Giants, I don't think it's a big deal.
Even with previous regimes for the Mariners, I remember Iwakuma pitching in a minor league game because of something similar like that.
Yeah, their day fell on a day when they was going, like they're playing the A's or something like that, so they sent him to the minor league field and had one of the kids pitch that game.
Two and two, which I always do chuckle a little bit when Felix gets put in a minor league game because of that, because as if there isn't enough tape or scouting reports or anything else on Felix Hernandez. But I suppose that there are some hitters in those lineups that maybe are seeing him for the first time that he might be facing in the regular season.
It's difficult because he has no idea who they are, and they're going to go up there and get their hacks in because they know exactly who he is. So they're going to get their swings in, and typically they're really aggressive, which makes it difficult to work on something when you're up against that.
A good start for Paxton. Strikes out Duggar.
And right there already 96 miles an hour here in the first inning. That's a good sign for James.
Facing right fielder Austin Slater now. We've seen kind of two versions of Paxton, Mike, when it comes to velocity over the course of his time with the major leagues. And obviously his delivery has been changed as of last year. But there was the James Paxton that was kind of like Verlander, right, where he came out throwing in the lower 90s and then progressed and built up to throwing the 97 to 98 late. And then we've also seen James Paxton come right out of the gates, first pitch of the ball game, 97 miles an hour.
I think that probably barring his first outing of this season, I'm sure he'll be amped up for that one. Once he gets into the season, I think you're going to see more of the 93, 94 early. And then as the game moves on, that's when his velocity is going to go up. And the reason why I think that is because the conversation with him, he talks about it all the time. It's one thing to go from the bullpen, but once you get into the game, he's thinking about his mechanics. Where is he locating his fastball? What's his breaking ball feel like? And then once he feels he has that locked in, that's when he really turns it loose. So we may see a little bit of that early in the season from him. I don't think his first outing. I think his first outing you probably will see 96, 97, just because he's going to be so excited to get out there and pitch. But as the season moves on, I think you'll see more of that velocity at 93, 94. And the thing that you have to love about him, it's one of the things that makes him special, is even when he gets around 100 pitches, he's still throwing 97, 98 miles an hour.
That's remarkable. Hardly any diminishing velocity. Back-to-back strikeouts for Paxton right out of the gates.
And this is what we wanted to see from him. Again, the other day when we talked to him, he talked about his mechanics, a couple of things he's been able to figure out, and you can see the breaking ball right there. 89 miles an hour down out of the strike zone. And he felt really confident about where he was at, and we're seeing that here in the first.
Now facing Buster Posey. Now Paxton just peppering the strike zone. Now we will see the Giants very early in the season, and a chance tonight to see two Golden Spikes winners within a foot of each other, Posey and Zunino. Of course, from rival schools.
Mariners will be their opener, right?
They will be. Zunino the Gator, Posey the Seminole. Mariners will be a part of 3 openers this year. Of course, if you include opening day at Safeco Field against the Indians, the Mariners will be the opener for the Giants and then the opener for the Twins. Hopefully no snow. Paxton's 1-2. Strike 3 called. He freezes a former MVP. Paxton strikes out the side in order. 1/2 inning in the books. Mariners coming up.
We all made resolutions. At Mercedes-Benz of Tacoma,
And you choose the location of games you want to see, all while receiving significant savings over single game prices. Whether purchasing a 20-game or 40-game plan, you'll become a Mariners season ticket holder and gain access to great benefits. You can pick out your plan at mariners.com/flex. Gorgeous night as we have a change in the lineup. John Andreoli is leading things off tonight facing Derek Holland. We know Ichiro's here, but it is Andreoli at the top. Ichiro, the scheduled leadoff hitter for the Mariners. Now we know that Ichiro was out in the field on the top of this first inning. 0-2. It's a little puzzling.
It is, especially when you consider a ball wasn't put in play.
Right. Paxton striking out the side in order in the top of the first. Holland's 1-2. Now there's out number 1.
The Mariners have seen a lot of Holland over the years. Of course, the time that he spent with the Rangers. Doesn't quite have the same velocity. That last fastball at 91. He used to be 94. Pretty hard breaking ball.
And steps Gene Segura. Holland's 0-1. Now Ichiro's still here. Again, the scheduled leadoff hitter tonight for the Mariners, and out in left field in the top of the first. And to right field, base hit Gene Segura. Slater tracks it down, 1 out and 1 on for the Mariners.
Gene having a solid spring, came into the game hitting .308 on the spring so far.
Now, for all the injuries for the Mariners so far here in camp, a guy on the upswing, Mitch Haniger. Good to see him progressing along.
Yeah, picked up his first base hit yesterday, and just 10 at bats so far for the spring, but this will be his 4th game. This is the first couple of weeks.
Now we are getting word that Ichiro left tonight's game with a tight right calf. It's a little more playing time for John Andreoli tonight. 1-1.
It's been that kind of week for the Mariners. You had Robbie with the hamstring and Nelson with, I believe, the quad. Now Ichiro with the calf.
Out away right field, 1-2. Ichiro kind of the last guy you anticipate to have really a tight anything with his
way he stretches.
Stretching routine, which is so famous.
But he's also hasn't played much and just getting back into the games, and you just never know until you run out there sometimes. And precautionary, I would guess, more than anything. I think he'll be fine and be back out there in a day or two.
Up the middle, Darno the flip on the first. Double play to end the inning. We go to the second. Mariners and the Giants scoreless.
tight right calf, and his night is done. He's being carted away as we move to the second inning in Peoria. Brad Adam with you here at the Ford Sports Desk. We have a treat for you. We are going to get Aaron Goldsmith out of the broadcast booth and bring in 3 former players, 3 former Mariners to entertain you for the next 3 innings. Enjoy this. It's Mike Blowers, it's Ryan Rowland-Smith, and Mr. Mariner himself, Alvin Davis. Gentlemen, take it away. I can't wait to hear some of these stories, Mike.
Thanks, Brad. Appreciate it. All right, Alvin. This week, been tough on leg injuries. Tight hamstring with Robbie, tight quad yesterday. I was at the game yesterday with Nelson, and now the tight calf. Is it just that time of spring, do you think? Or
you know, it makes you wonder. I mean, the heat showed up.
Yep.
We were so cool for the first 3 weeks of camp, in early camp, and just wonder if maybe guys got a little behind on their hydration. Hopefully that's what it is.
Yeah, and you were also saying hopefully with all of them, I guess it's the good news of being a veteran player. You hope you catch it. If you feel something, you catch it now. Get some treatment. You may miss a few days, but hopefully you can get ahead of it.
Yeah, you know, I mean, with those guys, you know, you're not trying to be a hero this time of year. If it was September, that's a different story. But, you know, it's April, it's March. We got to make sure we got a lot of games ahead of us.
Yeah, you have to be careful. And a lot of times, too, when you have those types of things that are going on in the season, most of the time you probably still play with it, but there's no reason for it here.
Right, definitely. You know, we've got a couple weeks left, and it's that kind of that gray area.
Yeah.
Opening day is now getting larger and larger, but you want to make sure you're ready. So maybe you try to push it a little bit, but you know, it's good that if Ichi felt something, it's good that he went ahead and said, hey, you know what? Let me go get some treatment, see how this is. Let's keep it a minor thing, or just let's keep it at tightness and not pop a calf, because if you've ever popped one, it's not good.
I did today. I was about 1.5 miles into it, and it was a sniper. Just went right down. The calf grabbed me. That was it. I was on my own out there, but I had to walk back, and it's painful, I can tell you that. So you don't want it to get to that point. And again, because he's a veteran guy, just take yourself out of the game if that's what it takes. Because the kids won't do it. They want to play. They're going to stay out there. So, again, the veteran guys have been able to do that over the last week.
Especially when you're trying to make a team, too. I think Ichiro's beyond that point of making a team.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Looks like the ball's coming out nice for Pax tonight.
I was saying before the game that in his first couple of outings, we were seeing more 91 to 93 with James. And I spoke to him after his last outing, and he was talking about the mechanics and where his glove was at and the different things that he was trying to accomplish. And he felt really good that he was able to get there. He figured it out. And James is real. He's one of those guys. He's not a field pitcher. He's a mechanical guy. And once he has confidence in that, I was thinking today, if you look at his numbers, they're not good so far in the spring, but it really doesn't matter. He's working on things. But I thought tonight it was important for him to come out and establish his fastball and the strike zone, Ryan. And we saw 96, 97 in the first inning.
Yeah, they had that radar gun off, that first hitter of the game. And we haven't got the radar gun up here on the broadcast, but they finally flicked it on that second inning. You see that 95, 96, so that's refreshing to see that. You know that a guy like James Paxton, and you know, like you said, he's mechanical. I remember when he came back from the DL last year, and the thing with he was really trying to feel his way through it when he was trying to get back to. He nearly slipped over there.
Yeah, almost tripped himself up.
No more league injuries. Come on, let's go. But tonight I feel like he has that conviction where he's going down the mound full speed and he's finishing guys off. You want to see that from James Paxton. He's a strikeout pitcher. 2 strikes, bury that hitter.
He's unique, Alvin, and you've probably faced a few of these guys. But for James, too, he'll go out in the first inning in his starts this year, and you will see 92, 93. And sometimes I would wonder, is he okay? You know, because you look for different signs. But then all of a sudden when he gets it locked in, finds the strike zone with the fastball, gets a feel for his breaking ball, next thing you know, you're seeing 97, and that's even in the 8th inning when he's out there. So he gets stronger as the game goes on.
Yeah, you know, it kind of reminds me of a hitter. You know, just the mechanics with the hitter, just kind of, you know, you don't want to just start leaning on it right away. You know, just letting the barrel fly. You kind of get your body, feel where you're at, feel how your hands are moving, just how your eyes are working, all those things. And, you know, then for James, just, you know, working down the slope, finding his arm slot. You know, his fastball plays better, as you know, Ryan. His fastball plays better at a certain slot because it tunnels up with his breaking stuff, and then the velocity comes. And, you know, once he gets, you know, once he get up 95, 97, coming from the left side, then everything else just plays up.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, when I was trying to find you yesterday, I found you in the cage, no surprise there. And you were working with the guys. Why don't you tell everybody what you're doing down here in spring training and what's going on with you?
I'm the cage guy.
You're the cage
that's
guy.
my nickname. I call myself the flippin' fool. The guys won't let me do it. They won't let me get away, but I'm the flippin' feeding fool. And I enjoy hanging out in the cages. You know, I don't throw BP anymore.
Okay.
So, you know, I try to make up for it by staying in the cage and monitoring that. And it's not all service by any stretch of the imagination. You know, standing on that side of the guys and watching them move from that angle, you pick up a lot. Just their timing, you know, how they move, their hand path. You can see it so much more clearly from in front of them because you can see the baseball coming in. And so I enjoy being in there. I really do.
And when you're flipping, you can move it around on them too and see how they react to different things. It looked like you were doing some of that yesterday. I can't remember who the hitter was, but it was more of an inside-out swing, and the pitcher's middle in. He was lining them back at you where the screen was.
Yeah, and some of the guys, you know, they like some random flips. So, you know, mixing some speeds up and moving it in and out, and you know, just
I like what you said to me. I said, I'm going to let you get back to work.
Okay.
And you said, okay, is that what this is? And you start laughing. You're having a good time with it. We're going to move into the bottom of the second. It's the Giants 1, the Mariners nothing.
Being the only car in its class to win
Looks like Mike Zunino stepped in the box. Let's see it. Back to our three-man booth, three former Mariners, Mike Blowers, Alan Davis, and Ryan Rowland-Smith. Mike?
Alvin, Zunino stepping in. What a great story he was last year. When you consider the struggles that he's had offensively, defensively, he's been there the entire time. But it's not an easy thing to make changes, especially make changes in the middle of the season. And I was so happy for him when he came back, when he was recalled from AAA and really played well and hit the 25 home runs, hit 250 for the first time. He has so much talent. I mean, you just have to figure it out, and it looks like maybe he's done that.
Yeah, you know, as you mentioned, so much talent on both sides of the baseball. His mental, you know, his makeup, you know, just a really, really smart guy, understands the game, especially to be this early in his career. And that, like you said, behind the plate, that's kind of always been there. He gained the confidence of our pitchers so early, and they love throwing to him. A great receiver, you know, plus arm, moves well he's a big man. He moves really well. Blah, I think to me, you know, when we start talking about the guys, how they strike the ball and how the ball comes off the barrel, he's definitely in our top three. I mean, Nelly, you guys have been there. Nelly hits the ball, it's just different. It's on another level, but Z is right up there with him.
I laugh because we have all these things out there, and you can talk about exit velocity, and they'll tell you. Some guys, you don't need them to tell you, you know it. You can just see it, and then that's Mike for sure.
Yes.
And now you have Daniel too. Daniel, he's made a big step forward. He's in a great spring, and I think for me, you can talk about mechanics, and obviously you have to be in place, but For me, it's just more his approach and his attitude to play. He just seems so much more aggressive at the plate.
Yes, yes. And his, intent. We talk about that, the intent that you have as a hitter. So, you've got your plan, you've got your approach, your opposition, what it is you're trying to do. But the intent to go up there and really, hit the ball, I mean, do damage. You can just see in his posture and his body language, the way he's moving. He just has a different intent than he did last year.
Yeah, I think it's been good to see because he's always done well in the minor leagues. It's just another thing. It's amazing, Ryan. You know this too, even being on the mound. When it's going to click for you and you get the confidence to feel that you belong and you can do this, it's different for everybody.
Yeah, I think with Daniel, he's at that point now where he has nothing to lose, so to speak. He came in and you could see him really pressing, and you work with him a little bit. When he came over, on the minor league side, when you come over in a big trade like that, with Vogelbach, there's a lot of pressure. You're a young guy, you're a prospect, here we go, and okay, what's the future going to hold? You're going to be a big part of this, and you hear this and you hear that. You don't get off to that good start, you start to press. And I think too, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong, but that can carry over into his defense like we saw last year.
Yeah, definitely. He just didn't want to make a mistake, and you can't play the game that way. There's two ways you can't play this game. You cannot force it. The game will not allow you to force it, and you can't play tight. You can't play tense. And that's really, really hard to find out, especially as a young player. Find that sweet spot.
When you came to camp, I believe it was '84 when you were Rookie of the Year.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay, when you came to camp, was your intention to come to camp on making this club? What was your attitude about it? Because obviously you go out and win Rookie of the Year that year, so things went pretty well for you, and you had to feel pretty good about yourself, early in your career.
Yeah, and I was a non-roster invite. Had a good AA year, had a good off-season winter ball down in Venezuela, and coming to big league camp for me was a reward. It was the cherry on the top for the season that I put together and what I had done in Venezuela. We had Ken Phelps, we had Pat Putnam playing first base, two left-handed hitting first basemen. So I know I'm number 3 on the depth chart. So coming into big league camp, talking to some of the vets about, what should I be trying to do here? But I had an idea. I just wanted to be able to show the staff that I could handle this level of competition in every sense of the word. Not only could I get to the fastball, the major league fastball, but the game wasn't too fast for me. I wasn't going to panic. I wasn't going to press. Just let the talent come out. And that's what the relaxation is all about. Your talent comes out when you play relaxed.
Here's another kid here, Taylor Motter, who, last year he got off to such a hot start, and then the league started to make that adjustment on him, and he wasn't able to make that adjustment. It's interesting talking to him too. He's like Daniel Vogelbach, coming into spring training, and he has to show this staff right now, hey, I've made those adjustments. I'm able to hit the ball to right field and do the little things. It's amazing. And Alvin, you didn't make the team, right? Your Rookie of the Year.
I started in Salt Lake City, got called up because of an injury, so I was able to hold number 3 on the depth chart, But yeah, and when I got to the big leagues, Del Crandall, who was our manager, called me in the office and he said, hey, looks like Kenny Phelps going to be on the DL for about 10 more days, maybe a week. We just have you here. Want your left-handed bat. I may need you late in the game, so make sure that you're ready to play. And that was my expectation. I wasn't expecting to start.
Right, rookie of the year later.
Yes, yeah. Got off to the hot start. Winter ball really helped.
Unfortunately, Holland able to get the double play and end the inning. So we'll go to the top of the third. It's the Giants 1, the Mariners nothing.
Hands go here.
Well, the Big Maple.
Hey, Nick, why do they call Pax the Big Maple?
Well, for starters, he's 6'4", and he weighs 220. That's the big part. And he's from Canada. That's the maple part. And then there's this one other thing.
I'm glad you guys aren't Blue Jays or Orioles.
Mariners baseball, true to the blue.
Guys, it's happening.
It's hatching as we get it back to Mike, Alvin, and Ryan. Another good one, guys.
Yeah, they do a great job with it. Alvin, did you ever shoot any commercials when you were down here?
Yes, they
You did?
actually showed them in the clubhouse during the meeting this afternoon. So we got to, I don't know if we saw all of them, but we saw about 5 or 6 of them.
How was your acting talent in them?
Well, we didn't have the I don't know, the creativity,
There
I
you
guess,
go.
back in the day that we have now.
They've built up to this over
my
years.
gosh, they're so funny.
Ryan, did you ever do one?
Yeah, I did too. I actually did a little sequel on mine too, but they're a lot of fun. But you know, when you're out there, when you're filming them, you're like, oh man, how's this going to come across? And when they show them in the clubhouse. They show, you know, usually the day they come out, and you know, you're sitting in the corner cringing. You're like, if my teammate's going to see this, you know, this is a reflection on me, my acting talent, what
it
the
has to be
script is.
uncomfortable. I can see where it'd be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But the guys seem to have a good time doing it too.
It's a lot of fun.
It's a pretty long day, though, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, but our crew, they come in early, you know, they get them out of the way. They're so organized. You know, everything's put together. The big production trucks out here, they got all the scaffolding, the lighting, everything. So I think the guys actually look forward to it.
I think the thing is too, you can't take yourself too seriously when you're doing it. Otherwise, you know, you're going to cop it from your teammates. You know, my wife was an actress, so she was giving me all this prep, like, as, you know, when we pulled up, because we had to do it at night.
Right.
We're doing all this prep for it, this and that. I go in and I'm like, do I need to take myself this seriously? I mean, no, come on. I'm an amateur. Just stay with it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Were you looking for the hair and makeup trailer?
No.
We were talking about your rookie year. So you come back and you're there. They were talking about 10 days, and then what happened?
Well, Del Crandall gave me a start. It kind of caught me by surprise, but the night before, we were finishing up the series with the Red Sox. And he, you know, tapped me and just said, hey, I'm going to give you a start tomorrow. I was like, wow, okay. So I'm making my major league debut tomorrow. You know, call the family, call everybody. And yeah, started the next day, went to the vets, Al Cowan, Barry Bonnell, Gorman Thomas. Hey, what do you got? Let me know. Dennis Eckersley was on the mound. You guys know the story. And hey, you know, AD, you know, people don't really know you. You haven't been in pro ball that long. Just, you know, college a couple of years ago. So, you know, he's going to bust you in. He's going to bust you in hard. See if you can get the head out. If you can't get the head out, you're going back to
Was he still
Salt Lake.
slinging as a starter? He was still slinging it out to the side?
He was not as low as he was as a closer, though. He got lower as a closer.
Okay.
Yeah, but, and, you know, he threw hard. I mean, he could get it up there pretty well, so even as a starters.
So you jumped in there and just got on the heater right away.
Yeah, well, he got on me the first at bat. Yeah, he beat me and popped me up to the catcher, so that was kind of anticlimactic. You know, your first big league at bats up on the big board out there, and then F2, right? Take it back to the dugout. Better luck next time, kid. So, but I cheated to that fastball. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I knew where he was going. Yeah. The next at bat, I hit a 3-run homer. And I think we went 3-1. So.
And were you in the lineup the rest of the way?
Yeah. You know, pretty much the rest of the way. So it was one of my funny stories is I don't know when it was. We were probably into May, and Lee Pelikutis was our traveling secretary, and it wasn't that long. It couldn't have been that long because my wife was still in Salt Lake City, and so you know I went to Lee and I was like, you know, Lee. You know, I kind of need to know if am I staying or am I going back? The last thing I was told is I was going back, and he just looked at me like I was crazy. I was like, okay, all right, I get it. I just want to bring my wife up, you know. And so Lee was like, you're not going anywhere. Like, why are you asking me? You know.
Rookie of the year. When did you know you had it locked down?
Oh, man, lockdown. That was tough because Langley was the rookie pitcher of the year.
Yeah.
You know, he led the league in strikeouts that year, won 17 games. You know, Kirby Puckett was doing his thing in Minnesota. There was this guy named Clemens, I think.
Pretty good.
In Boston, who was pretty good year. So, yeah, the day they announced it was the day that I felt good about it, you know.
That's amazing. Yeah. It's crazy this time of year, too. I mean, and some of these guys are about to go through it. You know, when they start making those cuts, and I think you were the second round of cuts, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And, you know, it's interesting. You go in for that meeting, and you've been around big leaguers for about a month. So, you know, so you're kind of living that lifestyle. You feel pretty good about yourself. You're confident. And you go in for that meeting. And it's funny, you know, James Paxton on the mound, you know, 2 years ago, he came out, and that's the first time I said, "Hey, Pax, how you doing?" "Oh, I just got sent down. This is and I said, "Well, what'd they tell you?" And it's the same old spiel, you know, do your thing down there. But they said to him, "Hey, look, we're thinking about making some adjustments." And you look at his arm slot now. That's a huge adjustment for a pitcher. And look where he's at, you know, just in a short time.
Yeah, he feels good tonight. 6 strikeouts for James Paxton. We're going to move to the bottom of the 3rd.
Jet Chevrolet is racing to sell 200 new
in Peoria, and that means we're right in the middle of our 3 innings of our 3 former Mariners in the booth. It's Mike Blowers, Alvin Davis, Ryan Roland Smith. We've got something going here, Mike.
Yeah, we do. Mike Margema. Opposite barrel. That's impressive right there.
On time to the fastball.
Ambushed it. Don't let him get away.
I hate that word.
Don't let him get away with it.
I hate that word.
First pitch fastball in the middle of the plate. Go get it.
Ryan, I remember probably 4 years ago, I'm in Tacoma, and Blake Blevins.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking on the bench one day, and he says to me, "Man, all these guys do in AAA is just ambush the fastball." And I said, "Blake, the guy comes walking to the plate. They play his music. They announce his name.
Yeah.
He's standing in the box with a bat in his hand. I grew up on Cowboys and Indians. Yeah. That's not an ambush. An ambush is when they're hiding behind a rock and they jump out and start shooting at you." Anyway, they all picked up on that. So there was every other word was ambush then. Right?
So for me, for these pitchers here, as I'm looking at Ryan, I'll give him a break if it's the first pitch of the ball game to the leadoff hitter, and if that guy catches one and hits it out, okay, you know, because the pitcher's just trying to get his feet on the ground. But after that, all bets are off. All bets are off.
Bro, that's not ceremonial. They do the ceremonial first pitch 20 minutes before the game.
But it's interesting, though. I mean, the Mariners and, you know, their philosophy is about having those quality at-bats. But as a pitcher, you know, and getting the guy deep, and I get it, you know, try and get into his pitch count or whatever. But I've always wondered, even as a pitcher, I'm like, man, if I'm going to groove this thing, get after it. And not that obviously I wouldn't announce that while I'm pitching, because I mean I'm throwing, you know, pretty straight fastball down the middle, but at the same time it's like, man, why aren't more guys just getting after that, ripping that first pitch? And your favorite word, just ambushing that thing.
Hopefully we have an organization full of ambushers.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, you know what I would think too, and I used to think about this when I was playing and even trying to make a club, is if I was a pitcher and I was a veteran guy like Holland is, he's been around. I look at this lineup. And who are the guys that have to play well to make a club? Because those are the guys I'm going to be careful with. Mike Margima, one of them. He's trying to be the backup catcher, and he jumped on the heater. That's what he's going to do. Nelson may take it just because he wants to see some pitches, right? It's a different thing, but you have to be careful out there.
Yeah. It's not April yet, right?
I love that, though. And, you know, guys in AAA especially, and you've probably been around the last couple of years where they're like, oh, man, guys at this level got no approach. You know, it's like, come on. Hey, that approach is pretty good if they're ripping it. If you're going to groove that pitch, especially that second, third time around, you're going to get hit.
Yeah, that one should get hit, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Ambush, I love it. I love it. Probably hear that a lot more.
We were talking about it in the break with Holland, and Alvin, you're right, and Ryan, you can speak to this too, but everybody knows who he is. They know what he has, but for whatever reason, and his velocity's down now. He used to be 94, 95. He's 91, but you see a lot of swings and misses late on his fastball, and we were talking about it. Maybe he hides it a little bit because of that turn.
Yeah. You know, you can see the 45 there when he goes into his tuck or his load before he comes to the plate. Probably has some, you know, a little bit of deception there. And, you know, we talk a lot about guys just coming out of the same slot with everything that they throw.
Yeah.
That's really hard to pick up.
Yeah.
Did you think about that?
Yeah, and
to have some deception and try to hide the ball. Is that something you thought about?
Yeah, and you know what, now it's, you know, kind of in fashion right now where guys are trying to change their timing to the plate. We talked about this last time around with Johnny Cueto. Quick pitching and this, that, and the other. But if you, I feel like a guy like Derek Holland, watching him pitch right now, and just from the short conversations I had with him playing against him, he has that conviction with the pitch. And, you know, this is something you can't, there's no numbers with it, you know, to put with this or anything, but it's like hitting too. He has that belief system with him that I'm going to throw this fastball down the way and you're not going to do anything with it. When you start thinking, oh man, I'm going to throw this fastball down the way. If I can't get it down the way, it's going to get hit hard. If you start living that way, just like we talked about with Daniel Vogelbach earlier, you're in trouble. He always, throughout his career, just had, you could see that, you know, there's no thought pattern, there's no over processing. It's here it is, hit it, and attacking hitters over and over and over, and you're going to get yourself in good counts, and then the success is going to go through. But back to the deception part. You know, a couple of years ago, I had a pitching coach say, oh, hey, why don't you try and get a little bit more deceptive? And
what does that mean?
What does that? I mean, it can mess with your head because you're thinking, okay, can everyone just see this fastball from a mile away? What's the deal? And then you start losing that belief system in the pitches you're throwing.
I know that for hitters, and Alvin, I'm sure that you can come up with a couple of names of guys, for whatever reason, you just couldn't pick the ball up. For me, it was David Cone.
Right.
I talked about it, but David was more, it was more arm angles with him, and not giving in and throwing that slider, and the slider would look different depending on what the arm angle that he was throwing it from, and I couldn't touch him. So there wasn't as if, you know, like he had a turn or he was hiding the ball from me. It was that part of it also that can be tough.
He had some funk, though, in his delivery, right? Like some up and down.
He had a little bit,
Yeah, that was a nasty breaking ball.
It was.
It just was. From the left side of the plate, it was nasty.
Thank you for vouching for me on that.
Yes. Well, you know, going back to our ambush talk.
Yeah.
Facing a guy, I don't want him to get to that breaking ball.
No.
Yeah.
So that's my approach coming into the game. That's my plan. I do not want to have to hit his breaking ball. You know, you had the Mike Witts, we had the Burt Blyleven. I do not want to try to hit that guy's breaking ball.
Right.
He throws something straight, I'm swinging.
Yeah, and you know it too, especially on certain nights when they really have their good stuff, and you know that's going to be their out pitch. You get that fastball, you're going to get one. You better put it in play somewhere, or you're in trouble, and you know it.
Right.
And we're seeing that a little bit with James tonight, and it's basically his fastball, and he's getting after it tonight. It's special, but it's just interesting when you watch pitchers, and especially the veteran guys. You know, it was one of the things with Felix when he first showed up, 19 years old. He's throwing 97, and had a really good curveball. He didn't need any of that other stuff, but as the years went on, you can see him start to use that little twist, that turn, that Louis Tiant thing, change his career.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, there's a lot of deception there along with plus stuff, and now you're in real trouble.
Yeah, I remember seeing a graphic on him, Ryan, just again, that tunnel.
Yeah.
You know, his changeup fastball is coming out of the same tunnel. And, you know, you've seen those graphics where they show the split as it gets to the hitter. It's the same pitch until it gets about halfway to the plate, and then it moves one way. The changeup bottoms out. The slider cuts. You know, the fastball rides in on the right-hander. As a hitter, you're just like, I don't know what that is. I don't know what I'm swinging at. And it just introduces that doubt.
Yeah, and also it's amazing sometimes, because I mentioned it with Felix. It was the curveball that he had with his fastball when he first showed up, and then the changeup. That was almost overnight, and it was in that same slot. And, you know, and we Trevor Hoffman going to the Hall of Fame. Here's a guy who was a shortstop, had a pretty good arm, but he found a changeup, and that changed his entire career.
Yeah.
And you know, you guys are always messing around with the baseball, trying to have it do different things, and if you find it, that's gold.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the time to find that too. And it's interesting. We're looking at two different, different positions when you're talking about Derek Holland and James Paxton. Now, James Paxton knows he's made this team. Derek Holland's trying to make a team. So, one thing, he can't come out here, Derek Holland, for example, and say, I'm going to be perfect to prove that I'm should be in this rotation. But a guy like James Paxton, he's a power pitcher. The more he can get, and this is about that time in spring training, you have to get away from trying to get a feel for that pitch. If you're trying something, this is the point in spring where it should feel like it's locked in, because you want to start attacking hitters and get that snowball of confidence going. Because, man, once the 29th of March rolls around and the lights go on, you better have some momentum and a good feel for those pitches.
I think that's the goal for everybody. I know, again, when I was trying to make a club, I was ready to hit from the time I left the on-deck circle. But then as I got a little bit older and was around more, I basically wanted to be, I didn't care about the hits. I just wanted to square the ball up and see the ball and slow the game down that last week. Just get me ready to get into the season, and I have to get there somehow. And some years it would take a little bit longer than others, and I have to do different things, but that has to be your goal.
Yeah. You want to be productive for the whole season.
Yeah.
Right? So when you're looking at 550, 600 plate appearances when you're playing every day, it's just mentally it's just really, really hard to gear up for a game in early March.
Right.
You just you don't have the same mentality, but you do know it's almost like the dimmer switch, not the light switch, but it's like the dimmer switch. The closer you get, you're going to start raising the level.
Yeah.
I imagine, Ryan, you want to leave spring training with knowing you had your good fastball.
I needed that. I pitched off that confidence. I had to have that.
I wonder how it works, though, if it's a little bit different. I was fortunate I didn't have to deal with it, but Mitch is in the batter's box now. He's missed the first few weeks. His timing isn't going to be there. He's not going to recognize the breaking ball as early as he will in another week from now. But the pitchers are locking it in. So it's more difficult. Early in camp, you can pretty much sit on a fastball. You're going to get a couple of them to hit. He's in a different situation. So how quickly he can catch up probably determines how much he can play coming off that wrist injury. He looks healthy, but it's going to take him a little bit longer, so he's going to have to rush it a little bit to get to that point we're talking about.
And, Mark, I remember when he came back from the oblique, I remember you talking about that, on air, talking about just his timing was off no matter what he did. If it still had to have that time where he would get that, that bat speed back and time everything up. Because, like you said, those pitches, when it gets to mid to late April, that breaking ball's on.
Listen to what Al was talking about today. He's in the cage. These guys are working on it every day. If it's an oblique or you have a hand or a wrist, you're not going to figure this out riding a bike every day and trying to stay in shape. You have to stand in there, right, Alvin? I mean,
yes, absolutely.
You have to get the swings in.
Yes, and you look at Mitch's mechanics. He's got a leg kick. The hands come down. Everything's got to be synced up. He's got to find his rhythm. He's got to find his tempo. He can't be in a hurry, or it affects his pitch recognition. That's the main thing.
Yeah, you don't want your head moving around on you, rushing to the ball. That looked really good right there. He got himself in a good count, 3-2. And you mentioned with Holland, he's going to throw a lot of fastballs. So that's a good matchup for him right here. But this is what he wants to do. He wants to square it up. Solid line drive. Again, this is just his fourth game. But the good news is because he's young, you don't worry so much about his legs. So they can run him out in right field probably quite a bit, and he'll be just fine. Because we saw the same thing with Heredia, and now we saw him hit that line drive into right. Early on, it was the same thing. He was late on the fastball. A couple of breaking balls in the dirt, you chase it. You're just not ready for it. And you can get all the cage work you want, but you have to get in these games.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do to duplicate these guys on the mound. They're the best in the world for a reason. And, Ryan, you guys can do so much with that baseball. Varying deliveries, varying arm slots if you need to, shaping the ball, make it go in, two different ways, turning one pitch into 3 or 4 different pitches by changing your grip and finger pressure and all that kind of stuff. I mean, they're masters of the trade. And,
they're the best.
We can't do that from 40 feet, 40-foot BP.
It's up to us to try to figure it out and do something with it, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Did you look at an area? Did you sit on a pitch? What would you normally do when you're hitting?
Coming up as a hitter, I figured that the way I could do damage was to the pull side.
Okay.
So everything that I did was set up to do that. I stood on the plate, had a little bit of an open stance, and I just looked middle in. And we were talking about it today, on the minor league side. We were talking about pitching in. And, for me, just looking out and facing a guy, did the guy have conviction when he pitched in? Because I wanted the ball in.
Right.
Did he have conviction? Was he trying to beat me in, or was he just trying to set me up in, push me off the plate so he could go away? If he couldn't beat me in, then I move up on the dish even more. Especially if the guy had normal stuff.
Yeah. Right.
Guy with plus stuff, you gotta respect. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah, I think early on, I basically would just I like the ball out over the plate. I like right center was kind of where I wanted to be, especially because early in my career at the big league level, I wasn't playing every day, so I'm trying to survive. So I got to let the ball travel, get a better look. And then as my career went on, getting to know the pitchers, right, I could sit on some pitches because I knew what they were going to do. So, there's different ways to do it. At the end of 3, it's tie ball game.
At the Lexus Command Performance Sales Event, experience
'18. Here's number 3 featuring Nelson Cruz.
So was this injury work-related?
Yes. Yes, it was.
Mariners baseball, true to the blue.
What's up, buddy? How you feeling?
Dang it. All right, that was featuring Nelson Cruz. Didn't mean to hurt the guy's neck, right, Mike? Just happens when you hit 500 feet home runs.
Yeah,
wow.
You can do it. Yeah, it's something. It's impressive. It's fun to watch.
That's up there with one of my favorite as a pitcher. That's a joke like, oh, how you feeling, man? Oh, well, my neck's pretty stiff after that outing. Give up 3 or 4.
Sometimes it happens, right?
Oh, yeah.
We were talking about guys in spring training and pressures and all those different things. The other morning, I was standing out at Scott Service's office waiting to go in for his morning thing with all the media, and I was sitting there, and a couple of guys were passing by, and it's one of the things I think for a manager it's a brutal thing, but especially when you get to this point in camp and moving forward because you guys are getting closer, But I saw a player come out. After that, general manager comes out, and I knew exactly what was going on. And then on that given day, I think it was 3 or 4 guys that they ended up sending out of camp. So it can be tough. I remember my first year in spring training with the Mariners, which I think was the last year over at Tempe where you spent your time, Alvin. And the Mariners was a little bit different then. Budget was a big deal.
Right.
And I'm in camp, and the first cuts come around, and they send me out. And I couldn't believe it. Well, the minor league camp was down this hill, down by the parking lot or whatever it was down the road.
Right.
They called me back every day. I didn't get the big league meal money anymore. It was over with. But I came back and played every day till the end of camp.
That's a come on, man, right? That's a come on, man, right?
Exactly.
Thanks for the opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Can I take some of these extra sandwiches back? Right, Mike?
You're not kidding.
The team accountant sent you down that day.
Exactly.
We were talking about that the other day. Just it's a different world. Definitely from my time. This is a different organization when it comes to that.
I got to say, too, minor league camp looks nice now compared to my first couple of years over in minor league camp. I mean, they get looked after.
Oh, yeah.
They got all the
we got one of those little styrofoam cups that they call soup, and it was just warm water.
Gruel.
Yeah, it was terrible. I want you, Alvin, I heard this today, Alvin. You have to tell the story. I heard about this today. But tell me about spring training with Junior. First time.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, well, yeah. You know, Junior comes in and makes the team his first spring training. Yeah, but one of my favorite stories, I remember we were running a pickoff at second base, and Junior's in center field. And the ball gets thrown into center field, and the runner's got third base. He just has the base. Junior comes in, picks it up, and just fires a rock at the third base. The guy was safe, but he was shocked. He thought somebody had put a different ball in play, because he was thinking there was no way the ball should have been there. And I remember looking at Harold, you know, we're just like, wow, this kid is something else, man. You know, all the talent that he has. And, you know, we tell stories all the time about, you know, Junior and Barry, the debate at the time, who was the best in the game, right? Just like it is now. Bryce Harper, Trout, all of it, you know.
What was it what I heard today, though, when he was here and he had a group of people with him all the time?
You mean his posse?
Yeah.
Junior knows I love him, but man, he had a big posse that first year, boy. We had a bunch of teenagers running around the clubhouse. And you know, when you get into the season, the clubhouse is kind of sacred. There's you know, there's a time for everything. And man, Junior would have 10 or 15, sometimes 20 of his friends.
Really?
He had a lot of friends.
He had a lot of friends. Some of them stuck with him the whole ride. Some of them, I think, were just around, you know, his high school friends. But yeah, we had to, you know, we finally had to say, hey, Junior, you know, we love you and everything, but there's a time, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you need leave them some tickets once the gate's open. They can go out and watch the game from the stands. But yeah, you know, the kid was a perfect name for him. You know, he was a kid in a candy store.
Yeah, having fun.
Yes. Yeah.
We were laughing the other day. They have the golf cart that goes back and forth from the complex to get some of the guys out here, especially if they're running late. We saw the other day Ichiro was out here, and they rushed him out here right before the game. I remember one year in spring training. Can't remember what the year was, but Junior at that point was Junior, the best player in the game, and you know, and he was running late, but he had his guys, and I can't remember what it was. Might have been Frank too, but he had his Mercedes here, and next thing I see that thing rolling through here, and I can't remember who the manager was at the time, and Junior gets out laughing. He gets a standing ovation from everybody. It was awesome to see. Out they go around the warning track, and back out you go.
Yes, and that's what makes
and
Junior
he was laughing
unique
the whole way.
Yes,
it was great.
Yeah. It just makes him unique. None of the rest of us would even think about doing
There's not many people who could pull that off, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with him, you just have to laugh, you know. It's just part of who he was. It was fun.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, you need 3 hits tonight. Okay. We need a home run. Okay. Need a great catch. Okay. Hat backwards, earrings in. This game is just too easy for you, Junior.
I mean, you had to shake your head sometimes, right? I know I did, watching him do his thing.
Yes.
And, you know, I was fortunate enough to be there when he was hitting 50-plus homers, you know, and pitchers not wanting to pitch to him, and he's still hitting it in the upper deck in the Kingdom. Just, you know.
Below that run, I look at the back of his baseball card to go on Baseball Almanac or Baseball Reference, and I look at those years that he put together, and I just go, that's just crazy what he did.
It's funny that you're talking about either him or Barry Bonds, you know, at the time, and I'll never forget this. After '95, I get traded to the Dodgers, and we're playing the Giants for the first time. And I've seen Barry on TV, you know, and it was really impressive. People were asking me about it, and I just couldn't get past it because I watch Junior every day.
Right.
You know, and you get a greater appreciation for what he's doing, and he was doing a lot of fun to watch. So I pick Junior every time, and I still will today.
Yeah.
We're going to move to the bottom of the 4th inning.
Saturday at 1, it's the Mariners and the Angels on Root Sport.
Is back. Root Sports taking you to Peoria for Mariners spring training coverage like tonight. Tune in Saturday at 1:10 Pacific to catch the Mariners taking on the Angels in Cactus League action. Root Sports, your home for Mariners baseball all season long. Again, back to the booth, our 3 Mariner booth. It's Mike Flowers, Ryan Roland-Smith, and Mr. Mariner, Alvin Davis. Guys?
Ryan, what do you think of James tonight? Looks pretty good.
Really good. And this is the James Paxton you want to see, you know, when you're looking 15 days to opening day. And the biggest thing is 2-strike execution. Everyone knows he's a strikeout pitcher, but you also have to execute as well. And you know, we talked about the velocity. The velocity has maintained, you know, through that 4th inning. He's now approaching about 60 pitches right now. So you think that last 10, he's going to go back out there for the 5th. That last 10 to 20 pitches, when you're trying to build yourself up and get that stamina, that's huge as well. You have to push through that threshold. And you see him, he get tested a little bit that last inning, couple of runners on. These guys have to go through those moments to get ready for opening day.
That's something that Jerry DePoto was talking about. I guess it was about a week ago, Alvin, and he was saying the same thing. It was Marco Gonzalez, because his first 3 outings, he was just kind of cruised through it. And that particular day, he got in a little bit of trouble. I think it was bases loaded, gets a double play ball to get out of it. And Jerry said that's a good thing, and I'm not so sure that Marco thinks it is at the time that he's out there. But even for hitters, you get in situations. I was talking about this the other day. D. Gordon gets the base hit, steals second. Segura comes up there, makes an out, but he hits the ball hard to the right side of the infield and moves him up. Now, it's spring training. He doesn't have to do that. He's on this club, but you just like to see some of those things happen and play the game the right way.
Yeah, definitely, especially early in the ball game.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and Ryan, you can speak to this. For the whole club, to have an early lead, I mean, you know, statistics show that if you get the lead first, you got a good chance of winning that ball game, especially if you got somebody that can close at the end like we do. So, you know, it's never too early to play the game.
Yeah. Right. And you want to see you guys get tested. Doesn't matter where they're at, you know, on what part of the 25-man roster they make up. You want to see them get tested. And, you know, this might just seem like another spring training game and going through the motions. It's really not. These guys, Jerry DePoto wants to see his young guys. How do they react to certain situations? And you see Derek Holland coming off right now. He's trying to make a team. You know, the GM of the Giants, Bobby Evans, is watching to see how he's going to react to certain situations. He's been put in tonight.
Alan, did you, after you established yourself, did you ever have situations in spring training where you would go down to the minor leagues to try to get 3, 4, 5 extra at-bats?
Yeah, I mean, we used to have the B games. Remember back in those days? You know, we'd have the 10 a.m. B games, and I'd play in those games. I was a slow starter, so we tried a lot of different things to help me get off to a better start. And 84 was the best start that I had, but I think it was because I played winter ball, so I kind of came in mid-season shape.
Gotcha,
you know, as far as, but just get my rhythm, my timing, get my eyes working. You know, it took a lot of work to get that to fall into place for me.
I thought about that too, because I was the same way. April was not a good month for me ever, and people would talk about, well, the weather and all these different things. I always felt that for myself.
All my friends back home?
And I think it was just because of the first time that I did struggle in April, the next year coming into spring training, you talk about doing something different. I made up my mind that I'm not going to let that happen again.
Right.
Let me get off to a better start so I don't have to dig myself out of that hole.
Right.
Which unfortunately is something I got pretty good at because I struggled in April every year, it seemed like. And now that I kind of take a step back and I think about guys that struggle, I almost wonder if it's just a matter of just trying to do too much early on.
Yeah.
Because the one year that I ended up getting off to a pretty good start was in '93, and that was when I was basically the 24th, 25th guy. Edgar got hurt right away. I wasn't playing a lot, and then all of a sudden I get in the lineup, but all I was doing was just serving the ball in the right. You know, let me get my base hit so I can hang on for another day.
Right.
And that was kind of my approach, that by the time I was in there every day, I kind of stayed with that, and it worked. Where I think years after that, you know, you're trying to hit the ball too hard, trying to do too much, and you get yourself into some trouble. But Edgar, I know, he used to go down to the minor leagues all the time.
Yes.
Did you have a number of ABs you would try to get to?
Yeah, you know, I mean, golly, there were some years, I think one year we tried to get to like 125. I mean, I was playing every day from the get-go. I was playing in B games and things like that. So, yeah, I think there was one year we tried to get to 100 and didn't seem to help much, unfortunately, you know. But, you know, there's just a lot going on. And of course, now we're older and wiser. You know, we kind of understand a little bit more. And I tell the guys, you know, pretty regularly now, like, if I knew then what I know now, spring training for me would probably be about 90% timing and rhythm and about 10% swing. And, you know, I don't know what happens. We go home in the off season, you know, we tweak our swing, and, you know, we want to do this a little different, that little different. And those things can be important, but I think sometimes we emphasize that too much. And instead of doing things to help us with our rhythm and our timing.
Yeah, you start thinking about things too much, and next thing you know, that baseball is on you, and you're in big trouble at that point. So
yeah, getting that barrel out to the front foot, it seems so simple. You know,
yeah.
It doesn't have to move that far. But I tell you what, when that thing's coming at you 93, 95, 100 miles an hour, it's really, really hard to do. There's a reason it's one of the hardest things to do in all the sports.
And Ryan, you probably felt it too, because I know with a lot of pitchers, especially when you're trying to make a club, you're coming in and you're going to air it out the first day.
Yeah.
Just to try to impress people because you feel like that's what you have to do. And then the next thing you know, maybe mechanically you get yourself into some trouble.
Oh, yeah, big time. My first spring training, I knew I wasn't going to make the team. But, yeah, you want to impress. This is your platform. This is really the only time this coaching staff, this front office is really going to see you, close up. I remember my first bullpen day 2 of camp. I was locked in. I'm just talking just dotting, down and away, big breaking ball. I mean,
easy game.
I think they even told us before, hey, just fastball changeups. But I was like, no, I'm showing this thing off. And Jeff Weaver was right next to me. The guy had been around forever, and he was literally lobbing him in next to me. And I'm like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do, is it? But I think it's that balance too. For me, if I had to come in making a team, man, I had to light it up, January, because I was a slow starter as well. The times where I knew I had made the team, this point of spring training, I'm looking up at my velocity. My velocity's just not quite there. It can mess with your head a little bit. You try and press that last start when you don't want to do that. You want to be in a good rhythm right before the lights come on.
We were talking about Taylor earlier, Alvin, and I spoke to him. It was about a week ago, and I loved his answer to me because we're asking about him and what he's trying to do. And he said, look, I got to hit the ball the other way. Last year I was one-dimensional, trying to pull everything. He goes, it worked for a little while, but now I need to make another adjustment. And we've seen that. And yesterday, ended up with a couple of hits, hit the ball back up the middle the other way, which is great to see. And at some point, you have to be honest with yourself and where you're at in this game and make adjustments, or you won't be around very long. And he certainly is doing that.
Yeah, and we were talking a little bit earlier about the adjustments and the changes you make in the offseason. I think what Taylor has done is right. He's done something that's going to help him to be successful.
Right.
And like you said, he just got exposed. I mean, that's the word we use. The league's going to figure you out. You've got all these eyes, you've got analytics, everybody's looking at your heat maps. And these guys know, Ryan, you guys know how to execute a game plan.
Yeah.
And he just got exposed. A different role for him. I think, coming up through the minor leagues, he was an everyday guy, and all of a sudden going to the Super U role. And, I mean, it's a very important role in the game today because it allows you to carry that extra pitcher in the bullpen.
That's
or go
exactly
to a
it.
six-man rotation.
And he can play everywhere. He's a tremendous athlete. Obviously has some pop. We saw that last year. I just like where he's at and the way that spring has gone and the things that he's working on. He's probably not completely comfortable yet, but he's getting there.
And with that role, golly, if you get in a situation where your top 9 or your front 9 guys are playing real well, putting up good at bats for you, you may go 10 days, 2 weeks without a plate appearance because we don't pinch hit. It's not the National League. There's not regular pinch
That's
hits.
difficult.
I think too, as a young player, a guy like Taylor Motter, he looks at this. He's a young guy. The game's changed. It's all about power. No one cares how much you strike out anymore, I guess. I mean, a young player like that, he probably looks at this and coming up to hit every time out, I'm going to just try and drive the ball. And then he falls into being that one-dimensional player as opposed to, if you do hit the ball the other way a little bit and eliminate some of those holes, you're going to be a better hitter overall.
Well, and it's difficult, I think, for me. And there are exceptions when you're talking about the superstars in this game. But for me, the power would come with just reps and not trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark. That's a great example. He is not touching that pitch last year, Alvin. And that's a great at-bat right there with 2 strikes, foul some pitches off. And that pitch is down and away from him. And he just punches it into center field. That's not an easy thing to do.
Right. Something that we didn't really see last year.
And nothing drives you crazy. If you're pitching and you have a guy who has the ability, look at this. That's a well-executed breaking ball. You have a guy with the ability to be able to do that with 2 strikes. That can drive you crazy.
And I think for him, in the role that he's in, if he doesn't play for 8, 9, 10 days, he's going to have to do things like that to be somebody that can contribute and help the ball club out. Because I don't worry about him defensively. You put him in the outfield, he can run, has a strong arm, he's a good shortstop, that's his natural position. So all the other infield spots, he can handle all that. And it's just getting to that point And it's not to say that one day he doesn't become an everyday player. That kind of happened with me. Initially, I wasn't playing. And that's what I was talking about. You have that emergency hack, Alvin. You're just sitting in there, and you got to find a way to serve it to survive till the next day. Even for you as an everyday player, when you're just not feeling good, you have to have something you can go to, right?
Yeah, definitely. We call it adjustability, right? Having some adjustability in your swing. You know, at this level, you're not going to survive with a groove swing.
Yeah.
Because the league's going to find you out, and they're going to pitch away from that groove, or they're going to set you up with sequences so you can't get to that swing. And, you know, if you don't have, if you can't adjust, if you can't fight off a tough pitch or, you know, put it in play, it goes down as your K. Yeah. And, you know, when I think about that position from the, you know, the manager's standpoint, you know, Jerry and Scott, you know, a guy you can trust. That's a huge role for the guy that's in that role.
Yeah.
Can I trust him?
Can I trust
him?
him?
If I have to pinch run late in the game, you know, I need a run scored. Can I trust him? Is he going to be focused? Is he going to, you know, execute as a base runner? Is he going to make an impact as a base runner? If I have to put him in as a defensive replacement late in the game, can I trust him?
Yeah.
Did I make a routine play? I'm not, you know, it doesn't have to be highlight reel, but, you know, he's been sitting on the bench for 10 days. Can I put him out there in this situation and he turned a double play for me? So trust becomes a huge factor.
Yeah, I thought it was along those lines. I thought it was interesting when they were talking about Marjama with another base hit, hitting that line drive up the middle after the home run, he hit out the other way. But talking to Scott Service the other day about the backup catcher, right? Mike's going to catch everybody. Who's going to be the backup? Because you have Marjama, Freitas, Ghost Switch. Those guys are trying to win that job. Get up the middle. There we go. Now they take the lead. But Scott was talking about it. He said basically he broke down each catcher and their strengths. He didn't talk about any weaknesses, but he talked about Marjama. Goes, here's a guy that was an infielder, basically moved to being a catcher his last year in college. He's really been swinging the bat well. He can help us swing in the bat. Freitas is a guy that calls a good game, works well behind the plate. I like the way he moves around. Scott, of course, a former catcher. And then Ghost Switch, he goes, he knows all these guys and what they want to do. So there's pluses to all of them. It's just a matter of what you're talking about. Who do I trust and what am I going to need them to do and how often are they going to play? And sometimes you do everything you possibly can. And right here in spring training, you make it tough for them to make a decision, but sometimes you get sent out just because the numbers are what they want at the end of the day. And, you know, these guys, there's nothing else they can do about that, except for now every day they come in, they just don't want that call into the office, right?
Definitely not, you know. And I mean, you know, we remind our players regularly, and you guys know what I'm going to say, just, you know, the whole industry is watching.
Yeah.
There are scouts here from every organization. You know, there are guys on TV that are watching right now. And catching is such a valuable position, especially a guy that can handle a big league staff.
Well, and that's the other point of that too. I remember there's always seems to be that battle for that backup catcher's role. If you're a young catcher and you want that role, you've got to be vocal in the clubhouse. When you have your pitchers meeting, speak up, because you're taking that initiative to say, you know what, I have a plan, I know what I'm doing back there, and that gives that element of trust. I always find that the guys who are speaking up in those times, I'm talking off the field, they always seem to stand out, and then they get behind the plate, and even that pitcher has that trust to say, okay, if he's calling that pitch in this situation, boom, I'm going to go for it. So it's massive when you're a pitcher and you try and get to know someone.
I wonder, and you could probably answer this, Ryan, but when you talk about the staff, okay, and you have guys that are veteran guys, you have Felix, of course, Mike Leake, Pax now has been around.
Yeah.
If you go to them and say, hey, out of these three guys, who do you want, Alvin, who do you want to throw to? Ryan, who do you want to throw to? And see if maybe there's something in there that's going to make those guys happy, because it is important.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, I witnessed that with Rob Johnson back in 2000, I think it was 2008, 2009 as a backup catcher role. He was so vocal in spring training. I think he may have gotten a hit all spring training, but he's making that team because those veteran guys, like you said, Felix loved throwing to him, and they love that trust factor. And you know, as a pitcher, they can trust it to say if he's calling that pitch, there's something behind that.
Yeah, and it just, you know, it helps with your rhythm. It helps with your tempo. If you can just get out there and execute, and the finger goes down, it's like, wow, that's what I was thinking. You know, and you get into that flow and that rhythm, and it starts day one of pitcher-catcher camp.
Yes.
The first time you catch a guy on the side, you start establishing that relationship with him. The way you catch the ball, you know, the way you receive the ball, the way you set up, give him a nice box to throw in. The little fist pump after you're done with your side session. All of that stuff makes a difference.
Do you, when you get down towards the later part of camp and some of these guys are going to get sent out, do you ever seek them out to make sure that they stay on track? And I know it's disappointing, but you have to get your work done?
You know, one of our tenets is, and you guys have seen it in the clubhouse, in the hallway there, it's embrace your grass.
Yeah, there you go.
know, and you know, we really, that's a part of our culture. That's a part of our identity, is to convince our players to embrace their grass, because you've seen what's happened over the last couple of years as Jerry DePoto's tried to reshape, or has successfully reshaped our 40-man roster.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of our kids are playing elsewhere now. You know, they're getting their opportunity elsewhere, and so, you know, yeah, we know all 200 players that are in the minor league clubhouse are not going to play for the Mariners.
Yeah.
It's a math problem.
Right.
But, you know, embracing your grass and being the best version of yourself, regardless of where you're playing, is your best opportunity to get to the big leagues and make an impact.
It's a great way to look at it. Ryan, Alvin, thanks. It was a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks again, Alvin.
So you're telling
We welcome Rob Whalen, Mariners starting pitcher. And Rob, it has been so much fun watching the spring, especially yesterday at Salt River Fields. 9 punch-outs over 5 innings, man. That was fantastic. What did that feel like for you?
Thank you. No, it felt great. It was definitely a big confidence booster for me. You know, going into spring training this year, I didn't have any expectations. Just wanted a clean slate and, you know, just enjoy every moment I could. You know, after last year, you know, trying to just put all that behind me. And I'm just glad the results have been there so far.
Rob, I was over watching the game yesterday, and as a former position player, I used to roll my eyes a little bit when I would hear from the pitchers that I can't get a feel for my breaking ball down here in Arizona. The ball is slick. I can't feel the laces. That curveball you had yesterday was a knee buckling. That thing was wicked yesterday.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no, it's been tough. I know coming out here last year for the first time, not really playing too much on the West Coast, just a little experience in the Arizona Fall League a couple years prior. It's different. It's different than Florida. You know, I played high school ball there, so I'm used to a certain amount of movement on my pitches, and you know, I'm just really starting now to get used to these big league baseballs. And too, I mean, my debut with Atlanta was the first time I ever pitched with a big league baseball, and let alone throw one. So, yeah, it's amazing that, you know, I've been able to get the movement on my pitches, but I think it's just more of an improvement in my mechanics and things I was working on this offseason that's really contributing to that.
It looked yesterday from the scoreboard when I was watching you pitch, your fastball was 90, 91, 92. Is that a cutter that's about 88? Is that what you're throwing?
Yeah, that's just natural cut on my four seam.
Okay.
Actually, that's something that transpired from my knee injuries and the bad habits I created in my mechanics, believe it or not. And there's times I would be throwing an 86-mile-an-hour slider. It felt like just couldn't really get through any fastballs, couldn't get any extension, and would kind of cut some stuff off. But now that I've been able to clean up my delivery a little bit, I've kind of embraced that little bit of cut action that I have, and it's more of a natural cut. And I just, instead of trying to eliminate that, I use it as another weapon. You know, yesterday I felt like I didn't have a good fastball velocity-wise, but my command was decent, and you know, was definitely getting the sinking action to my two-seam, and that's the primary fastball that I throw anyways.
You know, Rob, we were talking with Art Warren just the other night, and he brought up using the big league baseballs here in spring training, how different it was for him. Of course, a guy who's yet to make his major league debut. And you mentioned it just a few moments ago. Is this something that we don't pay enough attention to, people who of course aren't on the field and on the mound, that this is an actual transition for you guys to make, coming from the minors to the majors?
Sure, yeah. It's not a huge difference. You can just tell that the seams are a little bit lower, the ball seems to be a little bit firmer. It's nothing too crazy, but for me, when I was warming up for my debut game, I noticed that I was getting a lot more movement than I was getting with the minor league baseballs, and so it was kind of hard to harness that into my zone, into the strike zone a little bit with my cutting action, with my sinking action. So it was a little bit of an adjustment period, but it's nothing too crazy. But I definitely got a lot more comfortable throwing it.
On your curveball, again, for yesterday, and I think yesterday was your 4th outing in the spring, is that right?
Yes, sir.
First one was in relief. Okay, so I've seen 3 of them. Is there any particular reason? Is it just arm strength where you're at right now, the amount of pitches you throw yesterday, for you to have that 12-6 like you were? I mean, it looked like you could throw it for a strike, and then when you wanted to bounce it on top of the plate, you're getting some swings and misses at it.
Yeah, no, that's a pitch I've thrown since I was 10 years old. I still use the same grip I used when I was in the league that my dad taught me. Yeah, it's something that I kind of got away from the last couple of years, in incorporating a slider into my repertoire, being a sinker slider guy. Thought that would play better at the higher levels, and it still is. I can throw both breaking balls for strikes. I'm confident in it, but the curveball definitely has more of a depth to it, and I'm able to bounce out on the plate when I need to, something I can't really do with the slider as much. Right. But I'm able to kind of play with speeds on that and change the shapes to it. If it's early in the count, I can drop one in a little bit slower, and if it's later in the count, I can throw the heck out of it and bounce it if I need to. So it's been a quality pitch for me, and honestly, it's just been able to get extension on it. Nothing different wise with grips or anything like that. It's just really just cleaning up the delivery like I worked on all off season, and just being able to get through the baseball better.
Now, Rob, are we going to have a bunch of 10-year-olds in the Northwest now throwing curveballs?
No, I don't endorse any of that. I know that's been a popular debate for so long now. Honestly, the reason I threw it so young was the way I was throwing. I was through it just like a football. Me and my dad would throw a football in the yard all the time, and just kind of staying on the side of it and finishing through it. And it just happened to translate into a baseball that way. We just tested it out, and I never snapped anything. It's just almost like a flick out of my hand, and I still try to feel that little flick, when I'm throwing it now, and it's something that's never put any stress on my arm. I know when I was in Little League and when I was younger, all those coaches used to yell at my dad all the time about it, like, oh, he's too young throwing it, and certainly so. But I was a little bit of a stockier kid, so my body was built for it. And so it never really caused me any troubles. But yeah, I leave that debate alone, and I think everybody's different. Everyone has individual needs and whatnots, and it depends on who you are as a person when you should start throwing that.
Rob's out there throwing no-hitters every weekend in Little League. These poor 10 and 11-year-olds don't know what they're seeing for the first time.
Yeah, no, it was, I got a little advantage of that when I was younger.
Hey, you might be interested to know, we were talking with Jerry earlier today, specifically about you yesterday and the curveball, and he said it was the single best breaking ball he has seen by a Mariners pitcher all spring training.
Wow. Well, that's amazing, because we have some incredible pitchers on the staff. I mean, Felix Paxton has a tremendous breaking ball. So I take that as a tremendous compliment. No, I think that's very humbling to me to hear that.
Hey, Rob, man, it's been great watching you play. Thank you so much for the time, and all the best the rest of camp.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
Rob Whalen, kind enough to join us here tonight. So maybe not when you're 10 years old. Unless you're stocky like Rob, I guess. It's a good story.
You told me about Jerry telling you that was the best breaking ball, and I agreed with him immediately.
Oh, yeah, you were no doubt on that.
Look, the Rockies have a good lineup. They had a lot of guys in their lineup playing at their ballpark, and they had no chance. Again, 9 strikeouts, majority of them on the breaking ball, a number of them looking at it, just freezing them. It was an impressive outing for somebody that's really trying to make this club. And when you look at the team right now, Jerry has also said that they won't need a 5th starter until the 14th of April. But where it all works, these guys are still fighting to impress and to be in the mix, and he certainly is after yesterday.
1 out and 1 on for Paxton here in the 5th. Well, I asked Jerry this question, Mike, and I'll ask you as well, because Jerry was describing the movement of Whalen's curveball and basically breaking down curveballs into one of 2 categories. The one that comes straight out of your arm and just starts to drop right away, or the one like we have seen from Rob that has that hump to it. Is it easier for a batter to pick up the curveball when it has the hump like Rob's? Because you know that you can recognize that pitch easier?
I don't think so. I think you actually, with the curveball he's throwing, you pick it up late, and it's because of the spin on it. And by the time you pick it up and the way that it was going straight down, they were really having a tough time, and that's the reason why you would see their knees buckle on it. To them, it was looking like it was going to either be a fastball or the cutter, which he was also throwing, and throwing a lot. Paxton now 76 pitches. Look like they're going to make a pitching change, and Christian Bergman getting loose. But I think that the one that he had yesterday, that is a tough one. And even if you see it, it's tough to square it up.
It was vicious. There's no doubt about it. Well, Paxton, after 76 pitches, done for the night. 4 2/3 and 7 punch-outs tonight for James Paxton. We've got a pitching change.
Spring is coming, and that means it's time to get ready for baseball.
$99 in Edmonds by Jet Chevrolet. Shop 24/7 at jetchevrolet.com. And by your Western Washington Honda dealers. Visit your local Honda dealer. Once again, under the lights in Peoria, Mariners and the San Francisco Giants. James Paxton done as the Mariners lead at 2-1 with 2 outs here in the 5th. Paxton 4 2/3. Lead by Christian Bergman. Bergman making his 4th outing of the springtime. Facing top of the order, Steven Duggar. Inherits a man at second base. That's Rutledge after the double. Overall tonight, Mike, for Paxton, we saw the 7 strikeouts. We saw the velocity there, too.
Yeah, and that's something we talked about it at the start of the game, Aaron. That's what I wanted to see from him. Is again, he's been working on some mechanical things, which is not unusual for James. And talking to him the other day, he felt that he had it all worked out. So I wanted to see the velocity in the first inning. We saw that. He finished with it also. A lot of 97s on the board today. A lot of strikes. You mentioned the 7 strikeouts. So wasn't critical for him. It was just good to see.
Struck out the side in order twice, including to begin the ball game. 2-1. Found away, still 2 balls and 2 strikes. Well, this has been a tough night so far for the Mariners on the injury side. Ichiro leaving very early after the top of the 1st, in fact, because tightness in his right calf, and then Gene Segura leaving after 2 at-bats because of right hamstring tightness.
A lot of guys getting treatment. There's Nelson Cruz. Ended up walking off the field yesterday. Tight quad. A few days before that, Cano with the hammy.
Felix, of course, on the mend after taking the line drive early off of his arm. Good news on Ryan Healy. He's facing live pitching now.
That's great news. Good to have Haniger back in the lineup. Heredia also. A couple of guys that were injured for a while.
A walk to Duggar. That brings up Austin Slater. And the timetable as laid out by Jerry on Felix is that if things go according to plan, Felix would be in line to be part of the opening day rotation. But there is not any room for error. There cannot be a hiccup in his process coming back from being hit in the arm by the line drive.
Scott was saying yesterday in his office regarding Felix that they would like to see if they, and you're right, he can't have any mishaps. They need to get his pitch count to a certain level, which my guess would be 85. So they're going to try to get him there. So the sooner they can get him on the mound, the better.
A bullpen looks like it's coming tomorrow for Felix. And the hope is he'd throw all of his pitches. This is into center field. Rutledge rounding third. Rutledge scores. This game is tied with 2 outs in the 5th.
He's going to get a breaking ball. See Mike who wants that ball down. Ends up right in the middle of the plate. Vincey, the shortstop, playing more towards the hole and not able to get to it.
Two outs, runners in the corners and a run in. Here's Buster Posey. Through the right side for a base hit as the Giants take the lead. Duggar trots home from third. He reached on the 2-out walk. Brings up Longoria.
Something that Posey has done throughout his career, using the entire field. You can see big hole on the right side of the infield. Munoz playing up the middle.
Which is more odd, Mike, seeing Longoria in a uniform other than the Rays?
I was just thinking that.
Or McCutchen in a uniform other than the Pirates? I'll give you a minute. When I originally thought about it,
yeah,
I thought McCutchen, no doubt, because he was such the face of the resurgence of that franchise. But now that I see Longoria in a Giants uniform, maybe it's, to be quite honest, maybe it's because McCutchen, there was black in that uniform and there's black in this uniform. I'm not sure. But seeing Longo in a Giants uniform, it kind of boggles the mind.
Okay, so if you were to walk into the ballpark when he was with the Rays, you pick him up right away, right? You know exactly. He was there forever, right?
Right.
He hits a double today, and I didn't recognize him at all. Isn't it amazing how, I mean, just the difference that you're so used to seeing him in that uniform for such a long time.
And, you know, to be fair, I say McCutchen, the face of that franchise, it's not as though Longoria wasn't the same for the Rays.
Exactly.
And a resurgence in a World Series team for them as he's down on strikes to end the top of the 5th. A couple of runs in, though, for the Giants. They take the lead.
So, what's it going to be? An
Mariners spring training on Root Sports is presented by Dunn Lumber, building success together.
Another beautiful night here in the Cactus League. Mariners playing host to the Giants. Right now, San Francisco leading 3-2. Aaron Goldsmith, Mike Flowers, our entire Root Sports crew. Hey, how was Mr. Mariner in Hyphen? I, of course, was not privy to this. I was kicked out of the party. A party that, Mike, it felt like the cool kids only, I'll be honest.
You told me before the game that you were tired, so we thought we'd give you a little nap, a few innings off. That's all, Aaron. It's great to have you back. A lot of energy right now. I like that.
Psyched up.
Yeah, it was great. We had a lot of fun. Alvin, of course, Mr. Mariner. He had some good stories to talk about. It was kind of neat to have him, too, just because he's here working every day with the guys. Any of the minor league guys, he knows them all. So it was great to have him here. He had a chance to come on TV. I spoke to him yesterday about it. Wasn't sure what his schedule was going to be like, so we were fortunate to get him in here. It was good.
I kept introducing myself, and I'm not exaggerating, for the first 3 years to Alvin Davis.
That's a good move on your part.
First name, last name,
Yeah,
and he finally said, I've got your name. You don't have to say that anymore. So for the last year and a half, it's been risky, Mike, every time.
What's up, Alvin?
Hey, Alvin. What's up, AD? But what a gentleman, one of the best.
Yeah, he is. He's definitely that awesome guy.
Not enough TV time for AD. You know, it's good to get him here.
He's busy.
You're right.
I mean, it was yesterday morning early, and he was in the cages.
Now this is another great example, as Muno is leading things off here for the Mariners down by a run at the bottom of the 5th. This is another great example. The ongoing PSA for why spring training is just the best time of year. When you come down here and you want to go watch, I'm thinking he took ball 4. Not the case. You want to come down here to watch the big guys. You want to see Felix, you want to see Cano, you want to see Cruz, and then all of a sudden there's Mr. Mariner with a fungo bat.
Yeah.
Doing his thing, and I guarantee you Alvin Davis will say hi to you. You say hi to AD, he's saying hi right back.
He will. You know, it was last week we had Dan Wilson here doing the same thing.
Sure.
And yeah, now you have Alvin. This is what's great about spring training, guys. We'll come in and out of camp and, you know, trying to help out as much as they can. We're going to talk to Joel Pinheiro in the 7th inning. So it's good to have him in camp.
Never know who you might run into. Heck, sometimes Junior's even down here.
Yep. He usually makes an appearance at some point.
Mile high off the bat of Haniger to center with some carry and gone off the batter's eye. Big boy home run. Mitch Haniger ties this game at 3.
See, Aaron, I told you it was going to be just fine.
I believed you.
Mitch, this is his 4th game. A couple of hits for him. Got his first base hit yesterday. We'll take a look at the swing. Fastball gets pretty deep. It's actually middle in above the belt, and he goes straight away center field above the line. He's been able to hit the baseball on the barrel a couple of times tonight, so he's feeling pretty good about things.
Now the funny thing is, if you go back, let's say 3 years ago, as Zunino lifts his side to left field. There is out number 2. Now the bottom of the 5th is brought to you by Heritage Distilling, BSB, brown sugar bourbon. You can't spell baseball without BSB.
By the way, you're asking about Ryan. You can ask if he's willing to come in here and do an inning.
Ask him his take on the 3-man wave.
Yeah, what he thought about it.
Looks like that is it for Law. We'll step aside. More to come. Mariners have tied this game thanks to Mitch Haniger.
It's Ram Truck Month, so long live the trucks with best
together. By Safeco Insurance, find a local agent at safeco.com. Do more. And by Steel. To find your local Steel dealer, visit steeldealers.com. Josh Osage, the new pitcher for the Giants. They're all tied at 3 with 2 outs in the bottom of the 5th. Daniel Vogelback at the plate for the Mariners. On the first pitch, fair ball to end the inning. We are on to the 6th. We'll be joined by the hyphen, Ryan Roland-Smith, swinging by for the second time tonight, even at 3. At Safeco Field, select from one of 7 unique group hospitality spaces and customize your experience with food and beverage packages, private bartenders, and more. You can plan your picnic now at mariners.com/groups. And for just a few bucks more, Ryan Roland-Smith might be that private bartender.
Might be.
Good to see you, man. Welcome back.
Good to see you too.
Hey, how was the 3-man weave?
It was great. A lot of stories.
I can imagine.
Yeah, a lot of stories. A lot of good ones. 3 generations.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's fun.
Second time we've done that this spring. Here's Nick Hundley to begin things. Going after Bergman's first pitch. Good hop to Vinci, who's made his way over to short. There's number 1. Boy, Paxton tonight, man. He was throwing the gas home. 7 strikeouts, struck out the side in order twice. This was awfully good stuff from Paxton this evening.
Yeah, he was fun to watch. And 5 days ago, Aaron, you and I were on the radio side, and you could slowly see glimpses of those 2-strike pitches from James Paxton. He's a strikeout pitcher. You want to see that, and I get it. It's middle of spring training, and it's all about getting your work in, working on stuff. But at this point, 15 days, 14 days until opening day, you want to start seeing that snowball effect with him, confidence-wise, finishing guys off with that fastball up in the zone. And I know we don't have the velocity on the telecast right now, popping up every pitch, but. The 95-96 up on that scoreboard was good to see.
It was funny, his first 2 outings. Now, granted, of course, he's building innings, right? Yeah. The first couple of outings are short relative to a normal outing. But no strikeouts for James until his 3rd time around, which, even though it is spring training, that's still odd to think of with Paxton.
Yeah, it is. And, when we saw that 3rd outing, you could start to see he's getting away from feeling for his pitches. He's a power pitcher. And I spoke to Mel Stottlemyre this afternoon, and he said, the biggest thing with James is getting him over that hump. He's a slow starter in spring training, but get him to be a power pitcher. And that means, 2 strikes, up in the zone, here it is, go for it, hit it.
2 outs, here's Pablo Sandoval. Mitch Haniger has tied this game at 3 with a home run off the batter's eye. Panda tied up a little bit there.
You talk about having feel for pitches. A guy like Chris Bergman, who is coming into camp, he's got something to prove. He got a chance to pitch a lot. We had all those injuries last year. He's had the 1 rough outing, You know, last inning he was trying to feel for it a little bit. But when he gets that good fastball down and away, that good sinking fastball, he can be so effective.
Many years with the Rockies. Trying to finish off this top of the 6th. Looks like he will. Twisting pop-up third base side. Matter's got it. Bergman retires the side in order. Out of the bottom of the 6th, tied at 3.
Get up.
Here's number 4, finally featuring the King.
Wow, it's beautiful. The way he paints the corners, amazing. I mean, it makes you lean in, then it slaps you in the face.
That's right. Well, as a hitter, I find that offensive.
I think it's stunning. Look at that guy.
I'll paint a new one.
Mariners baseball, true to the blue.
Oh, not a bad one there with Felix, a foul ball there. Painting the corners there. Back to Aaron and Ryan Rowland-Smith. Rowland-Smith knows a little bit about painting the corners himself, Aaron.
Well, you know, we're talking with the 2-time Mariner commercial star.
And acting,
sequel,
Brad.
All right?
Yeah, exactly. Come on.
Only one with a sequel. Yeah.
It was that good. I got a sequel. How about that?
And you know what? I forgot both of them. What were they about?
Yeah. Come on. Come on. Hey, Brad, you know you've got the DVD at home and you watch it regularly. Come on.
I do. I share it with the girls. We get a good kick out of it. Yes. I'm glad that your wife was able to give you those acting tips.
Yeah.
Really paid off.
Yeah, really paid off. Aaron, you have a favorite one or what?
It's nice having Brad around, isn't it?
Oh, it's great. Yeah. Brad, what's your favorite?
One of yours or in general?
No, 2018's.
Oh, well, you know, I have only seen the 4. I have not seen the last one yet. So I think right now, Kyle's hair flip, for me, is tough to beat right now.
That's a good one.
That seems to be the leader in the clubhouse overall. Now, I got a piece of information today from Kevin Martinez as Heredia strikes out to begin the bottom of the 2nd, or the 6th, I beg your pardon. Felix Hernandez is now 2nd most all-time in Mariners commercials. There's been one Mariner in franchise history who has been in more commercials than the King.
Can I take a guess?
Absolutely.
Dan the Man.
You were in the room.
I was in the room, yeah.
Dan the Man.
But 2 guys, I mean, you think about Felix, you know, with all his personality, the King, he's going to be featured every year, right?
Has to be.
Has to be. That's right.
We're going to ask Blow when he returns if he can guess Dan the Man. That's not an easy one to guess. It could be a number of guys. 2-0 on Motter with 1 out. Do you have a copy of your 2 commercials at home?
I do, yes. I do, of course. Sits in the DVD player. No, I do actually. They were nice enough to give me a couple copies to, back then before YouTube, back in, I think it was 2008, 2009, taking that back to Australia and showing people, showing the family back home.
Yeah, they are every Mariners commercial. For anybody wanting to go back in the time machine, they're all on the Mariners YouTube channel. 3-1 to Motter. And a full count.
We were talking about Taylor Motter earlier. The ability this spring training to make that adjustment to hit the ball to right field and facing a tough lefty with that good down and away movement. This is a good test for him. And you know that this time in spring training, doesn't matter what your place is on that 25-man roster or if you're a young guy coming up to camp. Scott Service, Jerry DePoto, the staff are always evaluating, and this is a good chance for them to take a look.
Hard hit into left field. Second hit tonight for Motter. Enjoy more Mariners baseball for less. New this year are 25 BECU value games on select Sundays, weeknights, and holidays. Save big with select bleacher and view seats for only $15 or main and club seats for $30. For a full lineup of games, just check out mariners.com/value. 1 out, 1 on for the Mariners. Here's Mike Margema. Trying to get Motter to second, thrown away. Motter scampering into third base. And now 90 feet from home.
You see right here, Osich with the read play. He could see Taylor Motter taking off, so he had the ability. It's not easy to do as a left-handed pitcher to be able to read the runner at first base. Had him picked off easily, but unable to come up with the play at second. And that's another part of Taylor Motter's game, being that utility. He's in that battle right now to be that utility role. How does he base run? How does he do the little things, whether it be, bunting a guy over or, simple base running mistakes like that can always cost you a job.
Well, earlier tonight, Mike Margema, his second home run this spring.
Jumping all over that first pitch, too. All right, Derek Holland, probably his first at-bat he's ever seen against Derek Holland. Crushes it.
We know what our favorite cameraman Kevin Vogt does during these games. He just lays out on the berm, hopes that a home run gets hit his way, calls it work. Very nice, Kevin. And look at the 2 home runs this spring from Margema. The one you just saw the opposite way, and of course the inside the Parker. That was in Goodyear last week. Infield brought in. There's that number 2. That keeps Motter at third base. And here comes Zach Vinci. Vinci getting the start tonight at second base. A waiver claim by Jerry DePoto from the Reds. This is a guy with a fantastic glove. Go back 2 years ago. Was the minor league Gold Glove Award winner. And he was in Double-A Pensacola. Made his major league debut last year. Brief amount of time with the big leagues with the Reds. Off the end of the bat, foul ground. Kyle Jensen, the new first baseman, able to make the catch. 6 innings complete, tied at 3. The little ones need a little bit of a break from watching. They want to play. Hop on over along the concourse inside the Peoria Sports Complex. We are all tied as we start the top of the 7th. This is going to be fun. We're joined by former Mariner Joel Pinheiro from in the dugout. Joel, you are here. You are working. You've been put to work by the Mariners. Tell us all about it.
Well, like I told some of the teams that I want to get back into, being part of this great stuff that's been going on around baseball. And my agent sent out a letter to all the teams, and Seattle was one of the teams I called. And I'm just, hopefully going out here trying to see a little of the minor leagues, major leagues, and trying to work with the young staff they got here.
And here for roughly a week, some long days for you?
Yes, I got here on last Friday, and I leave this Friday.
You working, Joel? What's up, man? It's Ryan Roland-Smith. How you doing?
Ryan, how's it going?
Are you working with all levels, from guys who are going to be going to extended spring to big leaguers?
Yes, I've been. Today was all BP, live BP, and everything, and it was a long day. We got here at 6:30 and saw a lot of great arms, a lot of young talent down there, and obviously then we had a night game, so I came out, played catch with Felix, and did the PFP with all the guys, and just trying to watch all the talent.
Joel, coming into spring training and, obviously from a coaching role, how has spring training changed from when you were a young player?
Oh, wow, it's changed dramatically. It's, some of the pitchers don't even shag anymore. No, that's what I said. It's been fun. And then they have the guys, foul ball. Oh, camera guy got hit. It's a lot of things going on. They have a lot of nutrition stuff, a lot of workouts, and these guys are getting ready earlier than before, and it seems like a shorter program, but they get more out of it.
Hey, Joel, a lot of Mariners fans are eager to hear your voice and see your face for the first time in a while. What's been keeping you busy over the last few years?
Well, I got my family, the 4 kids in Miami. I'm coaching the JV and varsity teams down in Miami at Westminster Christian, and that's been it. I helped out Yadi with the sub-23 team in Puerto Rico, and I've been staying busy with baseball, but the family's been the biggest thing. And my wife gave me a little break to come out here for this week.
Joel, any chance of a comeback? You want to put the glove back on and throw a pen or what?
Honestly, I threw 60 feet. It was okay. 90 was okay. But once I got to 120, I need a week off now.
Hey, Joel, you are part of a just outstanding trivia question. Are you ready for this?
All right, let's try it.
You were a member of the last 5-man rotation that stayed intact the entire season. 2003. Do you remember the other 4?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I keep in touch with most of them, except Moyer. I haven't talked to Moyer in a while. But obviously, Moyer was our leader. Freddie Garcia, Gil Mesh, and Ryan Franklin.
I mean, how about that? The 2003 Mariners are the last team to go 162 games with only 5 starting pitchers.
That was unbelievable. We had no idea until somebody in September kind of told us, hey, you guys, nobody's missed a start. You guys have been doing this all year, and this hasn't been done since I don't know how long ago.
I believe it was since like the Dodgers of the 60s.
Yeah, it was amazing. And as a matter of fact, one of our balls that we all signed got sent to the Hall of Fame, so that's kind of pretty cool for me. For all of us.
Does it amaze you how starting pitching has changed in the last, let's call it, decade plus?
Oh, it's been crazy. I mean, you're getting teams that are getting 15 to 20 starters per year because all the injuries, and now they're giving guys breaks because of the 7-day DL, and it's changed a lot.
What do you make of so many teams, and the Mariners are included, talking about, at least for a period of time this year, going to a 6-man rotation? Because in a lot of ways, Joel, 180 innings is kind of the new 200 innings in Major League Baseball.
No, exactly. Before is you want to get to 200 innings, 210 innings. Now 180, 185 is the cutoff. And I want the ball every 5 days, and I want to be out there, helping my team try to win. So it's been a little crazy. It's been a little different, but I guess it's the best thing for them.
Hey, Joel, this has been great, man. Thanks for the time.
All right, guys. Nice having you.
Joel Pinheiro, former Mariners starting pitcher. We're tied at 3. Time to stretch.
Spring is coming, and that means it's time to get ready for
Start at the bottom of the 7th. John Andreoli to lead things off for the Mariners. You know, Ryan, Andreoli's got a really interesting background. And as a former pitcher, I'll start you off with this one. You know who his cousin is? Daniel Bard.
Really?
Is John Andreoli's cousin.
Wow. I was in spring training with Daniel Bard the year where it kind of all unraveled with the Red Sox.
Was in line to be the closer of the future. Was Papelbon's setup guy, and then just could not command the strike zone, and it all unraveled. And years for Bard in the minor leagues trying to get it straightened out and just officially retire.
Yeah, and that was all from the neck up. There's obviously nothing about ability, nothing about injuries. It was just everything that was going on inside of Daniel Bard's head. But Andreoli, I've got to give it to him. I didn't know he was a converted player. Usually, you know, when the position players, that outfielder comes over, he's got a good arm, and he gets on the mound. You see that? But I got to say, it is impressive when you're a pitcher and you can turn it back around and be an offensive player. That's something.
Andreoli leads things off here in the home 7th. Osich still up on the mound for the Giants. Andreoli competing in the most recent WBC for Team Italy. I know we've sitting alongside one of the stars of Team Australia here.
Stars, yeah. That's right.
Foul ground. Well, Jensen just can't keep that cap on. There is out number 1.
We're talking Joel Pinheiro, who played for Puerto Rico as well. It's interesting having a guy like Joel Pinheiro, and you talked about having the 5 starters and just how the game has changed so much with pitch counts, and talking about now there's this you know, talk about a 6-man rotation, even a 4-man rotation. The Tampa Bay Rays were talking about going that 4-man rotation, which I just cannot see working out in a positive manner.
Well, it's a fascinating story out of St. Pete for the Rays, because as everyone else is trying to find more ways to rest their starters, Kevin Cash and the Rays are essentially going to a 4-man rotation, not just to begin the season, but the plan for now is for the duration of the year, and having kind of a trio of essentially long men in the bullpen that when that 5th day comes up, they go to one of them or they call someone up from AAA.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, and you know, obviously they've done their research on what things can work, what things can't work, and everything else. But I think the biggest thing, let's talk about the bullpen first of all. Being that multiple inning guy, we saw Davinsky do it with the Houston Astros. It is a lot tougher than it seems, because anytime you go multiple innings, you have to have those days off to recover. If you've only got 4 starters and you have got them on that pitch count, and you've got 2 to 3 guys who first of all, it's tough to find guys who are able to go multiple innings and be effective. If 2 of those guys are struggling a little bit, man, you are short in that bullpen, and then you got that quick turnover with that starter. You can't rely on that one guy to go 8-9 innings.
And 1 or 2, if that happens on the 4th man in the rotation, if he gets blown up in the 2nd, have to go to maybe multiple long guys. A good sign here. Neuenhuis in the ball game. We have not seen him for a long time. Lower body injury for Neuenhuis. Been on the shelf for a little bit. Taking over for Mitch Haniger.
Neuenhuis the last couple of years just trying to battle to stay afloat in the major leagues. You know, he was a fixture with the New York Mets, and he had some struggles. So it's good to see him back out here and battling for a spot.
Ball on 2 strikes. And good to see for Haniger too, as he's still trying to get his timing going after a late start to spring. Multi-hit night for Haniger, the single, then of course the home run to tie it off the batter's eye. Into the shift. Round number 3. Side sat down in order. We go to the 8th. All tied at 3.
I'm Damon Heward for Bill Corum's Puyallup Nissan. It's spring, and
best for last. You be the judge.
What should I throw him?
No matter what, he'll destroy it. Hold on.
Hey, Robbie.
Hey, what's up, guys?
He's wondering what to throw you. Fastball?
I will hit that pitch.
Slider?
I will hit that too.
Curve?
Come on, man. I will cross your curve.
He will crush my curve.
That's a waste of a visit.
Mariners baseball, true to the blue.
Good talk, Robbie.
Happy to help.
All right, that does count, I think, as an official mound visit, even though Robbie, the opposing player. Well done as we get it back to Aaron and Mike. That might have been my favorite, guys. That was pretty good.
Very topical, right, Brad?
Absolutely. We'll be talking about that 8th inning. Some minor league rule changes they're going to implement and see how that goes. We'll talk to Bill Kruger and Mike Wowers about that.
Some hot takes is what you're saying, Brad.
I like it. Yeah. Hey, I want to get Aaron's hot takes sometimes.
Oh, we're going to need more than an inning for that, Brad.
Good point.
We begin the top of the 8th. David Phelps, the new pitcher on the mound for the Mariners, facing Jared Parker. Phelps making his 4th appearance this spring. Okay, Mike, I asked Ryan this question.
Yes.
And it was unfair because he was actually in the room and the answer was given.
That helps.
Which kind of killed the drama of the whole thing. But I'll ask you now. And this is a tough question, Mike. And Kevin Martinez gave me this answer. Believe it or not, Mike, there is a spreadsheet on a computer at Safeco Field which chronicles every player and how many commercials he has appeared in Mariners history. I mean, this is the baseball reference of the Mariners commercials.
Yeah.
King Felix has appeared in the 2nd most commercials.
Really?
In team history. Can you name who's appeared in the most?
I know that I appeared in the least, which was 0.
Now it's
disappointing, isn't it?
That's so disappointing.
Yeah.
I feel like I would have seen that commercial had you been in one.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling you would have had 0 lines.
Unfortunately, when you think about going to spring training, and they do, I don't know, 4 or 5 commercials every year.
Right.
And you can pick Randy Johnson, Norm Charlton, Jay Buhner, Edgar Martinez, Ken Griffey Jr., you know, all those guys.
Those dudes, yeah.
Yeah, it seems that I was a little bit further down on the list.
It was a stacked roster.
Okay, so Felix is second.
Second.
Just because I enjoy him so much, and I would think that he would be there would be probably. I'm gonna. My initial reaction would be Edgar.
Okay, good call.
Because the commercials are terrific. He makes me laugh, and you know, he played for the Mariners for almost 20 years, so I would think that he would be at the top of the list. But
it's not Edgar.
Okay,
but that's a great guess.
Okay. Well, then I would think either Jay or Dan. And if Felix is second most, probably every pitching commercial involved Dan, so I'll go with Dan.
That's sound reasoning, Mike. Were you in the room too? Did you overhear this?
No, I was not in the room. You know I wasn't in the room.
It is Dan the Man.
Is it Dan
well
the
done,
Man?
man.
Thank you.
That's impressive.
I would have gone Dan, Edgar, Felix is what I would have probably done that.
I should get a top 5 to really.
Jay has to be in there, I would think.
I think we've all missed out not having Blower Power in a commercial. I mean, Blower Power itself would have been a great commercial, but I mean,
I wonder where Lou would be at on the list.
Easy top 10, right?
I would think so. I mean, because you have to start looking at the longevity of the players, and Lou was here for 10 years. And
no, but it's not common for managers to be in this.
No,
but
it's not.
But for Lou, was it?
I don't think it was real common for him. Maybe a couple.
Okay. So disregard my last comment. This is Gorkys Hernandez at the plate. 2-2. I just found it fascinating that somebody, and I confirm this, actually has watched every Mariners commercial and has created a master spreadsheet. as to how many times each player has been in one. And every year, Kevin Martinez, like this year, D. Gordon, right, makes his Mariners commercial debut.
Yeah.
His name gets added to the spreadsheet. More information than most people probably cared to know.
Yeah. I wonder if is it too late for me to make the spreadsheet?
No, it's not at all too late.
Maybe I should give
You have a very prominent role.
Maybe I should give Kevin a call. See if I can make that happen next year.
I think they can cook up a couple of good commercials for you, Mike. Watch out. Parker able to get into second. Wild pitch from Phelps. Cut on and missed. Experience the excitement and tradition of opening night at Safeco Field on Thursday, March 29th. Enjoy fireworks and red carpet introductions as we welcome back Robinson Cano, Nelson Cruz, and your favorite Mariners, plus your first chance to see the newest Mariner, D. Gordon. You can visit mariners.com to pick up your tickets. In steps Andres Blanco, the third baseman for the Giants. 1 out and 1 on. Keeping an eye on Parker. Phelps obviously such a big part of this Mariners bullpen this year. Last year coming over from Miami. His season ending shorter than he would have liked because of injury. Up the middle for a base hit. Parker motors around third base on his way home to score the go-ahead run. Andres Blanco makes this a 4-3 Giants lead. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Seattle Mariners and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Seattle Mariners. One out, one on, a run in. And here is Trevor Brown. And we had a chance tonight earlier to chat with Rob Whalen, who is having a fantastic spring and is right fresh off the heels of a 9 strikeout performance yesterday, and that was against the A team of the Rockies. You know you're doing something right when you strike out 9 over 5 innings. And you know, Mike, you can say what you will about spring training stats, and I think most of us are probably on the same page. They're very tough to analyze statistics this time of year in so many cases, but if you take a look, Mike, at the strikeout leaders in baseball,
it's amazing, isn't it?
So far this spring.
I've seen it. It's great.
Let's see here. Now, this is not just the Cactus League, right? This is all of baseball. We have guys that you would kind of expect to see, right? You have Madison Bumgarner.
Giant, yep.
Max Scherzer.
Sure.
One of the filthiest in the game.
Yep.
Justin Verlander.
Yep.
Top 3.
Yep.
Rob Whalen.
Number 4?
Now, I guess a 9 strikeout day will kind of help boost you in the rankings a little bit.
I'm telling you, he was impressive yesterday.
Keeping an eye on Blanco.
But that's a nice list.
That is a good list.
Yeah. He did a nice job on our interview with him tonight. Maybe when you see him tomorrow, you should mention that to him.
I regret not mentioning it to him before. I think he would have gotten a good chuckle out of that.
I think he would have. It's interesting when we were talking to him is that you get to this level, and we were talking about hitters and pitchers and all the adjustments and things that you have to make along the way. Obviously, all these guys are talented, but to separate yourself, there's certain consistencies that you have to have. And the fact that he's been throwing the same curveball since he was 10 is amazing. A grip that his dad taught him, and he continues to throw it that way. And it was a really good curveball yesterday, I can tell you that.
You know, I've talked to some pitchers before who have great curveballs who started throwing them very young, younger than most would advise, like Rob. And I asked one pitcher one time, is that too young to throw a curve? And he just simply said, not if you're throwing it right. This is shot high out to right center. Heredia tracking it. Round number 2.
Yeah, I've heard pitching coaches talk about that. I think that the problem that you have with it, for me anyway, and I have a couple of boys that play, I held them back from that, because even if you were to teach them, say for example, somebody that I would trust, Bill Kruger, if I could get my son with Bill Kruger, I know that Bill would teach him how to throw the curveball the right way. The problem is that Bill's not going to be there after he leaves that day. And I don't know that one of the other coaches would recognize whether he was throwing it the right way, and then the next thing you know, he has elbow problems.
Sure.
That's the problem that I see.
I just wish that we had tape of 10-year-old Rob Whalen just carving up the Little League.
I'm telling you, if he could throw his curveball for strikes there, they had no chance. I couldn't hit a curveball when I was 10.
No chance.
No.
Bounce foul. Chris Shaw, the batter for the Giants. Now, this does remind me a little bit of another guy with a great curveball. You know, Clayton Kershaw once.
That's a pretty good curveball.
He once threw a perfect game in high school, Mike.
Yeah.
He struck out every batter. And there happened to be a Dodger scout there that day.
That's amazing.
Pretty good timing.
Yeah, I would say so.
Phelps gets out of the top of the 8th, but a run in for the Giants. They have the lead.
Hey, Mariners fans out there, spring training is here and on MLB.tv. Watch select spring training games live on your favorite supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply for regular season games. Visit MLB.tv for details. Well, welcome back here. It's Brad Adam and Bill Kruger. Bill, we saw the last of the Mariners commercials. Robbie Cano going to the mound, even though it was the opposing team's mound. But it still counts as an official visit, I think, which you get 6 of. New rule in the majors this year. Well, the minor leagues are going all in on rule changes, not just pitching visits and mound visits. They break them up, 6 in AAA, 8 in AA, 10 in single A. But pitch clock. But I want to get to you. They're going to start extra innings, runner on second base. We saw that in the WBC. I guess your thoughts on starting extra innings with the runner on second base.
I think at first blush, you'd say you're destroying the purity of the game. That's not the essence of baseball. Essence of baseball is a timeless game. It is designed to be that way. It's not like the other sports, and you have to appreciate that, and you have to be a fan of that. And the nuances of the game are dictated around that. But when you start to dig in a little bit on the shuffling of rosters and sometimes lack of pitching at times because players getting called up and things are moving around quite a bit, and you end up with some position player trying to finish a game or whatever, you kind of wrap your mind around that a little bit, and it starts to make, I guess, a little bit more sense. It is artificial. It is not baseball. But you have to remember, in the minor leagues, it's of course, they get no vote. It's a caste system. But they really are there to develop. It's not really about wins and losses. Certainly those towns think that it's about wins and losses. But as far as the big league team, it's about player development. And it's also a great place to test things out. So I think the pitch clock there also makes sense because I think getting pitchers to work quicker is going to end up being good for them. They may not know it at the time, but I think it'll be good for them. I'm not a fan of any of this stuff hitting the big leagues. They want to do it in the minor leagues and, you know, encourage the speed of the game a little bit, protect rosters a little bit. I'm okay with it.
That's a good point. Maybe, you know, they take it the minors, and once they get to the big leagues, they're already pitching quicker. It's a 15-second pitch clock, no runners on base, 20-second pitch clock with runners on. And if it hits 0, you haven't thrown the pitch, it's an automatic ball. So there you have it in the minors. So, Mike, let's go back to starting on second base. So are we just going to see a sack bunt, intentional walk? Are we going to have bases loaded? No, 1 out every inning? Or every extra inning, I should say?
Yeah, I'm not sure about all of that. I think for myself, I understand it at the minor league level. I don't think that you're necessarily going to see that in the big leagues. I do like the pitch clock, and I think that more than anything, it's kind of what you were talking about, Brad and Bill. If they're doing it in the minor leagues and they're trained to do that, it's a nice tool for them to have so that when they get here, they will pick up the pace as far as the pitch clock goes because they're used to doing that. So in that respect, I like it. I don't know. I don't know about putting a runner out at second base as much. I think at the major league level, I just don't see that ever happening. But in the minor leagues, I certainly understand it like Bill does. I think that, especially for the kids and what's going on, why not do it right there? But I think that the pitch clock can have an effect in the minor leagues at the major league level when those kids start to get here.
I want to do something kind of different on our roundtables here and bring in Aaron Goldsmith. Are you still the headset on, Aaron? Are you still listening?
Thank goodness I did not leave.
All right. Now, no, you contribute, my friend. Hey, you spent a lot of time in the minors, riding the buses, eating at Subway. That's why you never let me eat at Subway on the road with you. Your thoughts on doing this in the minor leagues? Is it something that towns and teams might embrace, have fun with it, or do you think they resist it a little bit? How do you think it'll go over in the minors?
I think you can do things like this in the minors all day long, and that's okay. I don't think there's any problem with that. That is the perfect test kitchen for all these things. That's where these experiments should obviously start, and the test should be done there. I don't think that there's anyone, the local fan of the local minor league team, who will be in an uproar because something like this is happening. They might not be in love with it, but I don't think it will be the end of their day, as this is cranked out to left field off the bat of Heredia. Meanwhile, Bregman running for Zadino, making his way home and crosses home plate standing. We're right back where we started, all tied at 4. Heredia showing some pop.
Aaron, and with all of this, they'll find a way to sponsor and give away pizza somewhere, right? In the minor leagues. I mean, they will do that.
Well, you have to sponsor everything in the minors.
Yeah, exactly. They'll figure something out.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything. I mean, I totally hear what Bill's saying about the purity of the game at the major league level. I think at the minor leagues, hey, it's the same game, but it doesn't mean the same thing ultimately. And I don't think that's a knock at all. I think you can do this all day long at the minor leagues and test it out, and that's okay because you want to be able to have a feel for what this will do to the game, and no better place than there. But I think it's so much of it, guys. You know, when you talk about a pitch clock in particular, I mean, there is a rule to state a certain pace. As Motter pokes this into left field, trying to give the Mariners the lead. Heredia tearing home, and the Mariners on top 5-4. I've never been on a soapbox and done play-by-play at the same time. This is
You're doing great. Keep it up.
It's fantastic, Aaron. Yeah, keep going.
Two runs.
You're doing a terrific job.
I think the minor leagues is the perfect spot. Nobody will be upset. The purity of the game will not be damaged. And obviously, Commissioner Manfred's trying to do everything he can to avoid putting a pitch clock at the major league level. And tell me if I'm wrong, guys, but essentially if there was more of a firm enforcement by the umpires, maybe a pitch clock would not be needed. But even in the minor leagues with the pitch clock, it still takes the umpire to enforce things, and sometimes that happens and sometimes it does not always happen.
Mike Ford pinch hitting. I think again, I think if you started in the minor leagues, and the guys will get used to the pitch clock, I think that they will keep that pace up at the major league level to where you may not even need a clock in the stadium. That's just the way that they're going to go about their business. And you talk to pitching coaches, you talk to catchers, and they talk, and we've heard Bill talk about it a number of times. For the pitchers just to get in a rhythm and to work quickly is a good thing. It's a positive thing. So maybe this is the way that you're forcing them to do it, but maybe it turns out to be better for the pitchers as a whole.
You know, the only thing I wonder is the paranoia that this might cause, that you're instituting at the minor league level with the intention of taking some of these rules up vertically. And I think when you start talking about these things, doesn't Rob Manfred kind of hold absolute power? I mean, they want to always collectively kind of bargain these things out, and they certainly listened to the players when the players said no this winter on a lot of these things. But it may make you feel a little bit paranoid that it's a sign of what's to come, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe, and maybe, you know, again, if Bill, if that is true, and you know, I think again he may not even have to go there if they're doing these things at the minor league level, and it's going to take some time, obviously, but in 3 or 4 years those guys will be up here and working at that pace that he wants to see. So I'm not sure, but it'll be interesting to watch, that's for sure. But I think they all want the same thing. They just want to keep the action up in the game. So we'll see.
And I'll say most in the minors that I've spoken to about the pitch clock basically all have the same answer, and that is that after a fairly short period of time, you don't even notice it. Now, whether that's because it's not being enforced or because it just becomes so routine, I suppose that might depend on which perspective. Of course, they have the pitch clock in the Arizona Fall League here. This is an Arizona Fall League ballpark when the Mariners aren't here. But I think the bottom line is Manfred is trying to do everything possible not to rock the boat too much at this level by putting a clock out there. Although I would love to see a pitch of the buzzer. I think that would help really make the call, wouldn't it?
A loud
Great
buzzer
idea.
go off.
Great idea here.
What kind of electric shock on the pitcher if he doesn't deliver soon?
They got to wear a collar. I like that.
And play to third base to end the inning. The Mariners get a couple of runs, and they have taken a 5-4 lead. Giants suddenly down to their final 3 outs.
So yes, Shag is opening another new location.
5-4 over the Giants. Now sign up your little sluggers for the 2018 Mariners Kids Club. MVP memberships are only $25 and include a Mariners backpack and cap, $1 ticket vouchers, plus exclusive MVP experiences, including autograph sessions and batting practice viewings. You can register tonight by simply going to mariners.com/kids. New battery for the Mariners. Sean Armstrong is up on the mound. Working with Tuffy Gozawish here in the 9th inning. There's Kyle Jensen, the new first baseman for the Giants. Mariners getting 2 runs in the bottom of the 8th to take the lead. For Armstrong tonight, making his 5th appearance at the springtime. Last 3 years working parts of each season out of Terry Francona's bullpen in Cleveland. Mariners will see the Indians to begin the season. 2-1. Soft pop up, no man's land, right field, in for a base hit. Crazy night as usual here in Peoria. Tie and run aboard. This brings in Miguel Gomez. Yuri Perez, the new runner at first base for Jensen. Mariners, of course, open up this year at home on the 29th against the Indians. Mariners won't be home for long, and then it's out of the road. A couple of games against the Giants. The Giants will have their home opener, be an interleague game this year. The Mariners will be part of the Twins opener on April the 5th. And some early off days.
Strange to see a couple of Friday off days, isn't it?
Is that
one at home?
Did that ever happen during your playing career?
Not that I can remember. But Mariners are going to open up on the 29th. You mentioned Thursday, have Friday off, and then finish the series up over the weekend. But when they go to Minnesota, it's the same thing. Start the series on Thursday and have that Friday off and finish the weekend.
A tie and run down scoring position. Wild pitch. You know, normally the Mariners, it seems like, are in the Twin Cities much later in the season once things are really very pleasant there in Minneapolis. That may not be the case on April 5th. And then we're almost always in Kansas City over the summer. Well, the Mariners road trip, first of the season, continues from Minnesota on to KC. And then the Mariners are back home to face some more familiar opponents, the A's and the Astros at home. A snare at first base. Vogelback showing some leather.
Very good play.
It keeps Perez from going no further than third.
We talked about Daniel and what a good spring he's having swinging the bat, but this is a pretty good play. Right down the line. No problem at all.
Tie and run 90 feet from home with 1 out. Armstrong needed to do some fancy pitching here.
Mariners have their infield in.
Calixte at the plate. And one of the strange things about the schedule this year, Mike, the Mariners will be done facing the Cleveland Indians after April the 29th. They will not see the Indians the rest of the season, which could be a good thing. You don't know.
No, it could be a good thing. You're right. Unusual, too. Seems that we're always there in the middle of the summer.
Three-quarter swing. The 0-2. The 0-2. Danny Muno at second base. Perez having a hole at third.
A couple of mistakes from Armstrong. Gets ahead 0-2, and then the last two breaking balls, he leaves them up in the zone, and even that last one, a little inside-out swing. His defense helps him out.
This is Miles Schroeder. Comes in for a strike. Armstrong ahead 0-2. Schroeder down to his final strike as Armstrong worked with the tie and run 90 feet from home.
A couple of fastballs. See where he wants to go. 0-2.
Weak dribbler, could be trouble. To first, ball game. Vincey with a good pick.
Very good play. It's a nice way to end it, though. Nice job by Armstrong to get out of the inning. He was in some trouble. He gets out of the inning. James Paxton had 76 pitches, had dominant stuff. We saw him at 97. That's what we wanted to see. Really good stuff from James. So pitches 5 innings to start to stretch him out. So we'll take a look at James tonight. Again, just dominant. Started out striking out the side in the first inning, and he was electric. But he was able to figure out a few of the mechanical things that were an issue for him early in camp. Pretty good defense tonight, too. Helping himself out, but just a very good fastball, Aaron.
Well, anytime you can freeze Posey to end the inning, that's got to be a good feeling, no matter if it's the Cactus League or the regular season. But this is the best we have seen of Paxton coming off his previous start, which is really his first hiccup of the springtime.
And it was good to see Mitch Haniger. This is his 4th game. Hits the home run today to dead center field. So looks like his timing's getting a little bit better. A couple of guys trying to win jobs today. You have Margimo with a home run and a couple of hits, and Taylor Motter 3 hits tonight, including the game winner. So there are a couple of guys trying to work their way on this club. So a nice night for them.
Vogelback gets on base again, and also showing a little bit of leather late in this ballgame.
Yeah, it was a good defense there, wasn't it? It was great to see because he has really been swinging it well this spring.
Mariners win this one tonight. They come from behind. They get a couple of runs in the bottom of the 8th to take down the San Francisco Giants this evening from Peoria. Glad you could join us here tonight for Mariners Cactus League Baseball. For our entire Root Sports crew, I'm Aaron Goldsmith. Good night from Peoria, Arizona.